Hello, good afternoon, everyone. So good to see you. My name is Anne. I'm Anne Okwera, co-founder of Light Empowerment Foundation. Light Empowerment Foundation is the main organizer for this event. We are joined by several partners who have helped us to put together this epic event, and we are very happy to see you. My name is Anne Kazungu Okwera, and I'm a co-founder of Light Empowerment Foundation, which started in Uganda. It's registered in Uganda. Before, I've worked with international organizations like BRAC and Oxfam in the human resources capacity. And I also worked with corporate organizations like MTN, where I was a trainer for several years. And I also worked in customer service. So I bring on board a very rich background in corporate governance and also INGO management and governance. And so these are the experiences that we want to share with you all. Like many of you, when we founded Light Empowerment Foundation, I think some of you have been seeing the work we're doing online. It's not an individual's work, but we are a family that come from Uganda. Like many of you, we had a passion to change our community where we come from, our rural, where we came from our village. So we saw how, the health services, they are quite poor, the levels of poverty are quite high, school dropouts are prominent, with girls dropping out and getting pregnant even before they finish their education. And we had a passion to see things change in where we came from. So we decided to start this charity called Light Empowerment Foundation so that we could cause a change in the community where we came from. And that is how Light Empowerment was born. So we had a vision and we had a passion that God put in our hearts. And it's because of this passion that we started Light Empowerment. The ability to bounce back is very important if you are in development work, because challenges are part of life. So as a co-founder of Light Empowerment Foundation, and the topic I'll take you through today is how we can build a sustainable organization of movement. As I said earlier on, this presentation, we are targeting people who are new in advocacy. You're probably starting a young organization like Light Empowerment Foundation. You're at community level. You have been inspired to cause a change in your community. You have a vision and a passion to change lives. And probably you're wondering, how do I start and how do I build my momentum? I'll start with a quote from South Berkeley. I hope everyone is hearing me. South Berkeley says, leadership is about vision and responsibility. It's not about power and certainly not for personal benefit, especially in this work of development, of advocacy, of changing lives, of changing our communities. There is no personal benefit in it. It's actually, you put in more effort, you put in your resources, more than you'll get out of it. But it's about, it's very fulfilling work because you know that you are changing lives. I'll also quote, have a quote from Sir Abed. Sir Abed Bai is the late founder of one of the biggest NGOs in the world that actually come from the southern, they don't come from Europe, but come from Asia, a southern part of the world. And he started BRAC, and BRAC became one of the biggest NGOs in the world. He inspires me quite a lot. One of the people that have really inspired me into the work that we are doing now. So he says that he has always believed that change is human-made, and that inequalities that create division of rich and poor, powerless and powerless, powerful and powerless are made by humans. And so he says change is also possible through acts of compassion, acts of courage and conviction. when Sir Abed was starting his journey of BRAC, like many of you may know, it started as a very small organization. Actually, it was rural. It started as a rural community initiative in response to the war that happened in Bangladesh, where people's livelihoods were destroyed. So he came in with a humanitarian initiative in his village, and just from that initiative, BRAC became so big, and then they became from that rural initiative to what we now know as BRAC. So he said, small is beautiful. You may start small, you may start you have your small idea, but at the end, big is necessary. If you want to create impact, then you must see how you can grow that small idea and to become the BRACs of this world. I wanted to share this video about him. I think it will take us just a few minutes, so allow me to try to share this video about about Sir Abed Bai.
There's no point in living in a kind of life that you are completely insulated from other people's lives. The importance of having a good life, doing a work in a multinational organization seemed quite immaterial to me at that point. December 1971, we achieved our victory. And then I came back from London in January 1972, and I sold my flat in London, and I had 16,000 pounds with which I started BRAC. Poor people are poor because they are powerless. You must organize people for power. They must organize themselves in such a way. They must understand the dynamics of their communities in such a way that they can change their lives. Giving attention to women and girls is very important as to how to bring about change in women's lives. Myself as a global citizen, and I'm ready to help in any country which needs BRAC. Most NGOs, but we were very ambitious. We wanted to change Bangladesh.
So that was about Sir Abed. May he rest in peace. I think you could hear the audio on what inspired him to change lives, and that is what inspires all of us as it is now. So we talk about a few leadership qualities, and I think, like all of you, you probably have leaders that have inspired you that you know about. Think of a leader that inspire you and the qualities that they have that have inspired you. To me, some of those are having the vision. So you have to have a vision. What is the vision? Like I told you, in Light Empowerment, we wanted to change lives of the people from our community where we came from. We saw their struggles in terms of access to health and education. So that's what we want. We want to go and change those lives. We want to empower the community. We want to be there to support. So having that vision in your heart of what you want to do. And there's so many things, so many projects, so many initiatives that are still there. I think as we are over 7 billion people on the earth, and I think as many as that are the kind of vision that we can all have. Having the empathy, you could see like from Sir Abed, he had that empathy for his community. He was touched when he saw the suffering of his people. The humility, you know, very powerful at the end, but he remained very humble till the end. Having resilience. So in this work, we face so many challenges and difficulties, but having that resilience, having that persistence to go on is very important. Having accountability, especially if you're in development work or you are, whether at community level, you're going to have access to resources. These resources may come from members of the community. They may come from people want to support your initiative. They may come from individuals or corporations, but the issue of accountability is very, very important. You should be able to account for the resources that have come into your hands. Influence, you should be able, of course, to influence people, influence mindsets. And we've seen that it's not even easy to change mindsets. It's not easy to change mindsets of people, to do, to change the way they are living, to adopt new practices, to adopt good practices. So ability to influence people, to make them buy into your vision, that's very important. It's key. Positivity, staying positive, despite every challenge that's coming your way, you have to stay positive. Delegate, at the end, you can't do everything yourself. You should be able to, delegate to members of your team, delegate to members of the community. You can't do it all. And have confidence at the end of it all, have confidence that you can do it. Those are some of the qualities that inspire us. I've put on board here some of the leaders who I think, to me, have inspired me. You can add others that you know about that have inspired us, maybe mainly from, how they have done whatever they're doing. So I talked about some of those, but I'll just add a few. Having the charisma, of course, you should be able to communicate your vision. You should be able to communicate what it is you want to do. So you want to advocate about some change in your community. You want to lobby, you want to, you should be able to communicate that into a way that members of your community can understand, your beneficiaries, the people who are coming in to support you can understand. So many of us fail because we cannot articulate our vision and our mission. What is it that we want to do, in our community? So that should come out very clearly. Imagine you have 5 minutes with maybe with Bezos, or with Bill Gates. You have 5 minutes with him in the list, and you have to tell him about your organization. What is it that you're going to tell him to inspire him to contribute or to give to your movement, or to that which you're trying to do. And also having passion about what you want to do. Effecting change in our community is not an easy thing. It's not a work for the faint-hearted. It's extremely difficult to change mindsets. It's very difficult to mobilize resources. I've picked a few references from Our Iceberg is Melting. Some of you could read that if you're interested, by John Cotter. He gives us so many good tips on how we can effect change. From the book, Our Iceberg is Melting, we talk about replacing complacency with urgency. So you want to create change in your community. There's something you've seen that's going wrong. Maybe environmental degradation, all the trees are being cut off, plastics are destroying the environment, whatever it is that you want to change, maybe poor leadership. You need to be able to replace complacency with urgency. Sound the alarm. Let people know what the issue is. Let people know what's going wrong. So you've done that and people know this is the issue, this is the change you want to cause. The next step is put a team together, because like we said, you can't do it alone. This is not a job that you could do it, it's very difficult as an individual, but it's made easier if you have a team. So build a team. This could be a team of people from your community leaders, political leaders, civil society leaders, anything, as long as they are going to come to contribute to your cause in one way or the other. So build that team. So once you have the team, develop a vision. So this is where you want to go. Is it a one-month event? Is it just an initiative, awareness raising? You want to raise awareness, or you want something long-term to come out of it? So you should have like a roadmap. It could be 6 months, 1 year, 12 months, 5 years down the road. I normally have a template that helps, especially for young organizations that want to start from somewhere. And I thought I could share these templates just for you to put everything down So it helps to guide, it works as a guideline for you to know. So if you're transitioning from advocacy or from a community-based maybe movement, you now want to transition to a more formal organization. We want to move to the next phase of sustainability. I've already created enough momentum. Now we want to go formal. We want to register an office and we want to transition this and maybe have a longer term kind of organization. So this helps you to have that everything in focus, and it helps you to know when you have achieved what and at what level, what stuff. So I've put here the focus area. So you have your governance structure. Do you have a governance system in place? If you're in Europe and you want, say, to start a charity, you must be having, say, trustees. In other parts of the world, maybe you could call them board members, and this helps you to have accountability for whatever it is you're going to do. You must be accountable to someone other than yourself. So have that in place, create an organizational structure that is in line with the principles and regulations of where you are coming from, and then establish short-term and long-term strategic plans. So you have your governance structure, then you have your setup. When are you going to set up? When are you going to register? The finances, the resources that you need, the people that you will need, what are the skills they need to bring on board? Are you going to do it alone, maybe for a year, and then eventually transition and start maybe hiring people to come on board? What's going to be your communication strategy? People need to know about your event, about your organization, or about your movement. How are you going to communicate that information out? Who are the stakeholders you're going to partner with or to engage? Partnerships and collaboration. So it helps you to put everything down. Just have a template that can help you to keep track of everything that you want to do. We also have a budgeting template, which we found very, very helpful. Whatever project you want to do without a budget, without knowing how much it's going to cost you, whether it's going to be a walk, whether it's going to be a charity run that you're going to do to raise awareness about your organization, you need to have a budget. So just have some simple tools, like we use Excel spreadsheet. It helps you to plan. So you have a budget. If you're going to register your organization, you have to do research. So feasibility studies, whatever you call them, your registration of your company, registration with the NGO, charity commissions or NGO boards, what are the different, so you have all that written down so that you have an idea of what the project or whatever it is you're going to undertake, how much it will cost you. Once you have that down, it helps you to plan in terms of fundraising. Most donors, if you go to them and say, oh, we have this project we want to do, they want to know how much is it? How much is your project costing? So that's why you need to take time to budget for whatever it is you want to do. I found this website very, very useful. That is charityexcellence.co.ug. They have several toolkits and also a list of funders that you can access for your organization. Those who want to go formal, you can use that. It guides you, gives you a lot of ideas that you can use in your work. I'll share the presentation later, so you'll be able to see those links. Then I talked about develop. So you've developing your vision. So in developing your vision, you need to take time to really put the foundation. As you know, if you build a house from up, it's going to collapse. So you need to spend time to build a foundation and get it right. Identifying the right people, whether who are going to work as ambassadors or trustees, with the right set of skills is very, very important. And it should be a variety of skills, not only technical people. Some people may be very good at marketing your organization out there. Others may be technical people, they can write project proposals. Others can be good at organizing events like this one. Others can be good at just, communication and graphics designing. So you need to bring in as many people as possible. But for them to come on board, you need to sell your idea, you need to sell your vision to them. Why should they rally behind you? So they must feel that you yourself are so passionate about your cause, and then they will come behind you. I like to give an example of Mustafa. Mustafa is so passionate about the shea butternut tree that you can't help but jump behind him. And I think many of us have come behind him just because of his passion, about his commitment and his passion and his consistency. He's walked, I don't know how many kilometers to raise awareness about shea butternut tree. He's been arrested recently. You know, he's gone through everything else. And so that passion that he has, it makes people to want to come behind him. So you've got people behind you, they are supporting you, others are fundraising for you, you know, doing sorts of work for you, and others are volunteering, others are ambassadors. Make them feel important. People like to feel appreciated. The volunteers want to feel appreciated. They want to feel they're valued. So you must find a way of making them recognized, or recognizing them, or making them feel that you value them. And then do not get complacent. Of course, you may feel you've done one event. That's not all. You still have so many other things. You need to keep in the face of people. The minute you go off social media, now, thank God for social media, you can actually be in our faces more times than we want to see you. Many times personally, I say, oh, have I not over communicated this? Am I not too much in people's faces? I've just sent them this information. What? But, you know, people say, just share it, because you never know, just one person like this may find that they identify with your cause, and they'll come on board. And I think Mustafa will talk about a lady all the way from London who felt so moved by Mustafa's initiative that she started a GoFundMe page for Mustafa's cause. All the way in London. Mustafa is in Arua in Uganda, but because of how he's never complacent, his consistency, someone very far away got so moved and said, no, I'm going to start a GoFundMe page for Mustafa. And I think Sophie, she could be on board. She could be one of the participants now, Sophie. And she's doing that out of her own initiative, but it is because of how Mustafa has been consistent in his work. I've already talked about being consistent. So that one, also I thought I'd share some basic principles that you can incorporate in your work at whatever level that you're doing. Your responses should be appropriate and relevant. If you're at community level, is it relevant to the community? Is it appropriate? Have you involved the community in whatever intervention you want to introduce in their area? You may want to put a borehole, but the community may be feeling that a borehole is not a priority, or the place where you want the borehole to be constructed, they may not agree with that. It may be too far for them, or, you know, so have you consulted them to engage with an appropriate and most relevant initiative for the community? Is your response effective and immediate? Many of us are in education. Maybe we wanted, like light empowerment, one of our thematic areas is education, but people have been in lockdown. Students have not been going to school. So are you going to say, oh, you're fundraising for school fees? It's not applicable at that moment. So it could be a different initiative that could apply to that set of group. So whatever it is you're doing, it should be effective, it should be immediate to benefit the community. It should strengthen local capacity and avoid negative effects. It should be based on communication, participation, and feedback. I talked about that earlier on. Complaints are welcome. So people in your community may complain about your initiative, about your whatever it is you're advocating for. Maybe they're not comfortable with the topic or the theme or whatever it is you're bringing. Address those complaints and make sure that you have a way of responding to them. You should be responding in a coordinated manner, and that is why you need to involve the community leaders at all points of your work so that they incorporate it into their work plan, or it's in line with the strategic plans at district or at local level, local leadership level, district level, national level, or in line with some of those international agendas. As a humanitarian actor or as a lobbyist or activist, we need to continuously be able to learn and improve. And that's why I think we are here. We are here to learn from each other. So learning is never ending. We don't say, oh, we've heard about that, we know all that, but you should be able to continuously learn and improve yourself. Make sure that the people who are working with you, the staff, they are supported to do their work effectively, they're treated fairly and also equitably. Make sure that all those international policies that align with international conventions, especially on sexual harassment, they're there and they're being adhered to. Because the minute donors and funders hear that, you know, there are some violations, especially in terms of some of those areas, corruption, corrupt practices and all that, sexual harassment, they'll cut off their funding to your work. So you need to be able to see that the staff who are working with you are protected. If you're working with children, are they protected? You have child protection policies in place. If you're working with vulnerable people, do you have practices and policies that protect the vulnerable people that your staff are aware about and that they're also adhering to? You may not have the resources to pay the staff, but find ways of motivating them if they're volunteers, find ways of motivating them and supporting them to do their work even better. Some of you may not know, big organizations like the Red Cross, they have over 14,000 volunteers. So the volunteers actually do the work, they volunteer their time and their effort and their resources out of their own motivation. But how do they do that? Is because they look at the organization in terms of what they're doing for the community, and that inspires them to work, to want to align with those organizations. Lastly, I already talked about the resources. Make sure the resources, especially those that are fundraised. If you're fundraising from the community, people are giving you however much little the money they're giving you is, make sure that those resources are managed and used responsibly for their intended purpose. So that has been a very big area for humanitarian and charity-based organizations. And even if you are an individual who is just doing work at community, you should be able to account for the funds. If you say you're doing a charity work, and these are the resources you're going to need, maybe to buy some drinks along the way or whatever it is, to market the event, make sure that those resources that you're able to mobilize go to the intended purpose, so that you can continue to get people to align with you, because they are seeing the values that you have and they can rely on you. They know that you're trusted and they can trust you with their resources. So they'll continue to give more. So there's a summary of what I've just talked about into that picture there. You can see those are core humanitarian standards. They're international standards, but they also apply to the work we are trying to do as people who are advocating or lobbying or doing work at community level. In the center are the communities and the people affected by the crisis. They have to be at the center of the work that you're doing. You can apply others, which I have summarized here, having the heart for humanity, being impartial, being neutral. If you're into this work and you're not going to be aligning with political parties in your community. Otherwise, you'll lose your neutrality and you'll lose your independence. So once people see that you're being partial, or you're more leaning towards one party, whether the parties that are in power, they will lose trust in you. So you need to be neutral and you need to be seen to be acting independently. Okay, I'm summarizing now. I think my time is almost up. As you're starting out, as I told you before, failing to plan is planning to fail. So there's a lot that needs to go into your planning. Short term.
There's an echo.
Yeah, sorry about that. So failing to plan is planning to fail. Define your mission and your vision.
Failing to plan is planning to fail.
That should be, I think it's, what should I call it? There's nothing in my background that is creating the echo. So I'll just try to summarize. Okay, so defining your mission, vision, selling it to inspire other people. I've talked about that. Building a governance structure, a team that can work with you is important. It can be an informal team or a formal team. I've already talked about that. If it's an informal team, it's a team of your community-based leadership, religious leaders, and all that. Ability to fundraise. You can fundraise from individuals, from friends, have also your personal savings. One thing I found hard in this is when you go to people to ask for support to your cause, and you can't prove that you've raised any money from your own. People want to help you when you've already done something. Unfortunately, that's how it is. So they will come and they want to see what have you done, what's on the ground. So even when you're fundraising, make sure that you're able to use some of your own resources or some savings from your work, former workplace, or your former income streams to build your movement. Because in most cases, it's unfortunate, but it's very true. People want to help those who have already moved in a certain direction. It's very rare that they'll come and help you when you're at zero. Yeah, so your ability to fundraise will be based on how you can showcase what you're already doing. Do some initiatives, even if they do not need funding at the grassroots level that you can showcase. So, but make sure you have records and you have a system where you record and you can prove that this is some of the work that you're already doing, because that is what will that's what will convince people to come and contribute to your cause in one way or the other. And that is linked to monitoring and evaluation. But documentation is very, very important, because if you have, say, led an event in maybe planting trees, like you can see on my screen here in your community, but there's nothing to show for it, you can't prove that trees were planted, so it will be very difficult for you to convince the people that you want to bring on board. So documentation is very important. Build the capacity of your team, of your board members, of your trustees. Let them know how, to fundraise. Some of them may be good at fundraising, but, have them attend events like this one so that their capacities can be built. I've already talked about team composition. The more diverse, the better for you. You may have volunteers, you may have part-time staff, you may have full-time staff. As you go along, just have a long-term view of things. You may not have all this in the start, but it's something you can build up towards in the long run. I already talked about systems and policies. Those are very, very important. Child protection, sexual harassment, or what they call safeguarding, anti-corruption, anti-money laundering, having systems like human resource manuals, finance systems, even if they are just Excel or you have books where you write them. The most important thing, have something that can show you can show to your donors, potential donors and funders, that you have a system to manage things in place. Okay, I've already talked about that. So in summary, yeah, that is a summary. I've actually summarized as I went along. Is you've defined your mission, your vision, your mandate. I've seen even people at political level, someone wants to stand for say member of parliament. This is just an example. We are not political, but they cannot articulate their manifesto clearly. They cannot tell you what they are going to change in the community. What have you found out are the challenges in your community? What are the things that the community members want to be put in place? So you find that someone cannot clearly articulate that. So it's very difficult for you to come behind this person, because you're not seeing a clear message coming from them. So that's why it's important to spend time in defining what it is that you want to do. What's the change that you want to cause? What have you found out? Do some research, read reports of other organizations that have done work in the area. Or if you can't read reports, or consult community leaders, they will tell you what the issues are and what the change that they want to see in their community is all about. Then you can use that to say, oh, I've engaged community leaders. These are the areas they want us to intervene on, and this is what we are doing to address those things. So it will be easy for people to buy that, because they see you already have you know what you're talking about. Then go and sell your vision and mobilize people, get the right people on board, build those systems I've talked about. You have to build systems if you want a longer term way. If you want a more sustainable organization, you need to build systems in place. Spend time to put policies, processes, and procedures in place. If you can't do it yourself, get technical people who can do it. But now we have the internet. There's a lot of resource on the internet. Collaborate. Know people who are doing work in your area in line with your mission vision. Who are the people in your community, other organizations that are already doing work? How can you partner with them? How can you build collaborative networks with them so that you can even get more resources? I've talked about documentation, fundraise, take time to build your organization while looking at the bigger picture. Some person said, think local, but dream international. So take time, look at the bigger picture and don't give up. So I've shared those links, Sabed video. You can read the book, Freedom from Want. It's a remarkable success story of BRAC. At the grassroots level, it's a very, very good book. It shows how they have integrated all their different programs together and all the different things they have done, which are quite many. I cannot even enlist them. They can give you ideas of some of the things you can do at your grassroots or your community. Okay, so that will be all from me. And questions are welcome. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much, the presenter. Thank you very much, everybody who have managed to attend this session. My name is Daniel Moro, one of the CEO of an NGO, a CSO called WAID. It is community-based, which is based in one of the sub-county in Dera district. I am also one of the youth leaders. I am a youth activist, human rights activist as well. My simple question or concern is going to you, the presenter. You know, for so many times, because now we are still in the initial stage of starting up the CEO, we have formalized it, so we are really starting up. And we have a number of things and activities that we are currently running, best to stabilize. But how can we overcome the challenge of involving the community? Because to really find out the most outstanding crisis within the community, the only thing that they always come while assuming is like the refreshment that they're going to get from there. How much are you going to pay them for the meeting that they've called them for, and other things? That is one. Another thing is we always face a number of challenges from some other political actors, because with the ideas that you come up with, most of them, they always looked at it as if it is a political move for some of us who are youth leaders as well. So I really don't know how can we really mitigate this and we ensure that we really work for the people that really we are compassionate about them. And then finally, most of the time we have been facing challenges, especially the anti-corruption group, especially those who are involved in holding the leaders accountable and the likes. We are faced with a number of challenges from the government as an agency. When you move to them to find out, to get a report, maybe like, for instance, like about the budget. For instance, I can take about the budget. If you want to find out about the report, maybe the budget, about the issue of the budget, we coming for the local community, what do they have for the local community? Sometimes it's always very hard to get such kind of information. So my concern is how that will really help the people that we always advocate for them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Daniel. You've asked a number of questions. Like I mentioned before, the first thing is to try and stay apolitical, meaning that you stay as neutral as possible. The reason why maybe the community-based people might think that you're aligning yourself to one political ideology or party in one way or the other, they could be seeing that from your actions. They could see that from your actions. So you must try to stay neutral. You know, we've seen personally, when I'm online, I try so hard not to make comments, especially when they involve sometimes, obviously you're not also agreeing with what's taking place, but you want to come up with your own view. But remember that every time you speak, you open up your mouth to speak, people take it as that either you're representing your organization. So if you're coming up with a view that is personally your view, you must make it clear that it's your personal view, it's not a view of your organization. So those could help you in staying neutral. Plus, make sure that you involve as many members of the community in your programming as possible. In terms of selection, select your beneficiaries. You could try and make sure that you involve as many beneficiaries from all backgrounds to benefit. In terms of participation of the local leadership, not sharing information, I think the best way is before you start any program, especially if it's involving the community, make sure you involve them in the beginning. Before you even go to start your project, make sure you involve them, let them see what you're trying to do in the community and build that kind of, they want to see, are you reliable? Are you this person that they can trust? Are you coming back, or you're like these organizations who say they are coming and they have never been seen again on the ground? So they have that mindset that most of us go there when we want something, and then at the end we are nowhere to be seen. So you have to build the trust. So trust is earned. So, you have to work with them, alongside them, until they build trust in you. Then they will start probably sharing information. But most of the information is even on internet anyway. There are so many reports that have been shared. I always make sure I get them and use them. So you may not always go to them, but where there's information, reports generally shared by other NGOs in your community, you can use that, but you quote that and refer to them in your work. I hope I've answered the question, but we have not, other participants can come into.
Well, thank you. I was saying, or I am saying that you said very well that we need to ensure that we involve the community members right from the beginning, and we need to involve as many as possible. But I was saying that, right, like some of us who are down here at the grassroots level, that we engage community members so many times, you find out that when you mobilize them, like for a meeting to find out maybe the most outstanding issue within their community, the majority of them, they have gotten that mentality that whenever they are called upon, there are always some benefits attached to it. Maybe if they are not going to be given some little allowances, some sort of a facilitation. So basically, how can't we counteract that?
There's a lot of mindset change that we have to do, obviously, in this work. It's really, that's one of the, one of the things that you want to achieve. One of our objectives as community-based or advocates or lobbyists or activists is to change mindset. So make it part of your program. How do you make them see the result that will come out of it? Maybe some of your programs, you may have to involve them to see how they will benefit from the programs. So you sell it from the outcome perspective, that when you come in, maybe for these meetings, it is from these meetings that we shall say select beneficiaries for maybe a project that we want to do. If it is microfinance, probably there will now be the beneficiaries of the microfinance program that you're introducing. That's just an example. Moses is putting up his hand. Please go ahead, Moses.
Thank you very much. I hope I can be heard. I thought I could just share one or two thoughts with Daniel. Number one, very briefly, Daniel, go after opportunities, but don't run after money to the extent of killing your vision. Stay with your vision. On the issue of expectations by the community, that is a challenge that has been created, and I don't think you're going to run away from it for now, because you can't manage people's expectations. They will continue to expect. However, my take is be transparent if they know what you know, if they see what you see, their expectations will be aligned with your capabilities. But if you don't tell them, if they don't know, if you present yourself like you have the resources, you may make it difficult for them, and they will continue expecting, because they know NGOs, they believe you're getting money from Muzungus, from somewhere. And that is why they will put a lot of pressure on you. Two last ones very quickly, and I keep quiet. Number one is build strong structures and systems. And as you do that, identify the people who can do that with you. Not everybody who comes to join you at the beginning as you form that organization is interested in the success of the organization. Along the way, you may have to discard some people because their interests, they may be like the Philip who was here on this, disrupting. Their interest is not necessarily the success of what you're doing. Their interests may be their personal interests. And finally, focus on the bigger picture. Focus on the bigger picture. There may be some little money coming in because of electioneering, but the election will go and that money will go. Focus on the bigger picture. Sometimes you may actually have to say no to some money and some resources because it could kill your vision. Thank you.
Thank you, Moses. Let's move on to the next presenter. Job Lazarus is an outstanding and influential author, speaker, scholar, engineer, and entrepreneur. He is a co-founder of UII, Unlimited Inspiration International. That's a global organization with a vision of transforming lives globally by inspiring, motivating, and empowering humanity. He's been a principal guest on several international events, the Pan-Africa Show, Let's Build Africa, or Priyana TV of Ghana. He's currently a research student at the prestigious Japan University of Science and Technology. So Lazarus, over to you now.
In every area of life, there are leaders and followers. Everybody has the capacity to lead. Everybody should lead. And everybody was created to lead. But some people remain followers throughout their lives. Everyone has the capacity to lead in their areas of gifting. Everybody should lead when they find out their potential. Now the question is, have you found out your areas of gifting? What are the areas in which you are gifted and talented? What are your gifts and talents? What are you doing with them? Have you discovered the areas in which you should lead? Well, when you find your gifts and talents, you become a leader in the areas in which you are gifted and talented. Leadership begins with self-discovery. When you discover your potential and life's purpose and begin using your potential to fulfill that purpose, you become a leader. Why do some people follow some people, but don't follow some? How unique are those who are followed? What makes them what they are? What makes Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, Mother Teresa very unique? Why do they have followers to date, yet they are long dead? Why are they followed by even those who never saw them and will never see them? Can you imagine that your great-grandchildren may follow Mother Teresa, but never follow you? If you don't manifest your leadership, then no one will follow you. What are your fruits? The great Dr. Miles Monroe said, true leaders don't seek followers. Followers are attracted to the fruits of the leaders. What fruits are you bearing in the world? Are your fruits worth eating? Are you worth following? If your fruits are not worth eating, then no one will follow you. Only trees that bear good fruits are valued and protected. Only trees that bear good fruits are protected by people. Only trees that bear good fruits are cherished by people. What fruits are you bearing in the world? Trees that don't bear fruits are cut off. They are never valued and they're never cherished. To exert direct influence on people, you must have followers. If you don't have followers, then you have no direct influence on people. Nobody wants a bad fruit. The same way nobody wants to follow a bad leader. You are followed because of your good fruits and abandoned because of your bad fruits. I normally tell people that your life is your garden. If you take care of it, then you will get good fruits. You should mind the seeds sown in your garden, which is your life, because you will reap what you sow. What seeds are in your garden? What plants are growing in your life? The seeds in your garden determines the fruits you will reap. Leaders always ensure that good seeds are sown in their lives because they want to bear good fruits that can attract the right followers. Alexander the Great made a powerful statement that I am not afraid of an army of lions led by sheep. I am afraid of an army of sheep led by a lion. Think about that statement for a moment. Are you a lion or a sheep? If you're a lion, you will bring out the best in the sheep. But if you are a sheep, you will not bring out the best in the lion. What makes a lion a lion? And what makes a sheep a sheep? What's the difference between the way the lion operates and the way the sheep operates? The difference is just one word: attitude. Attitude makes the difference between the lion and every other animal in the animal kingdom. Because of its attitude, a lion can bring out the best in a sheep. But the sheep, because of its attitude, cannot bring out the best in the lion. If you must be followed as a leader, then your attitude must be right. Nobody willingly follows someone with a bad attitude. What is your attitude? Do you ever enjoy following someone with a poor attitude? Can you really comfortably live with someone with a poor attitude? I guess the answer is no. If you have a poor attitude, then you cannot even lead yourself. If you cannot even lead yourself, then you cannot lead other people. If you cannot lead other people, then you cannot transform them. What kind of attitude do you have? The attitude you have determines the kind of leader you will be. Attitude is contagious. Is yours worth catching? Why? Or why not? As a leader, you must understand your why. What is your why as a leader? What exactly are you doing? What are your goals? What is your what? If you don't properly define your what, then you won't easily attract the right people to help you do it. What is your vision? Where are you going with your life? If you don't know where you are going, why do you want others to go there with you? What if someone doesn't want to go there with you? How can you travel to an undefined destination? How can someone help you to get there? How can you lead someone to an undefined destination if you cannot even lead yourself? A leader must define his vision and make sure the vision is understood by those he leads so that they know where they will be led to. Nobody wants to follow a visionless person. A visionless man is an aimless man. A visionless man is a purposeless man. A visionless man is going nowhere with his life. A man who is going nowhere with his life is not worth following. Where are you going with your life? It's the question you must answer. If you have no vision for your life, then your life is like a football match being played on a pitch that has no goalpost. Imagine a car being driven at night without any light. How can that car be driven? How will the driver successfully drive that car? If you have no vision for your life, then you are like a car being driven at night without any light. Just like the car can never get to its destination, so can't you ever amount to anything worthwhile in life. What are the values of your organization? What are the principles that you stand for? What are the foundational values, virtues, and principles of your foundation? What is your philosophy? What is the spirit of the organization? As a leader, it is your responsibility to make sure that people who follow you and those who work for you understand your values and principles and make them their own. For other people to follow you, your vision must be very, very clear. What is your vision? The next thing you must know as a leader is your how. What is your how? How do you do what you do? How do you plan to do what you want to do? What is your modus operandi? How do you execute your plans? Who can help you execute those plans? You can know what you want to do in life, but if you don't know how to do it, you will never do it. If you know what you want to do as well as how to do it, then you will know whom to do it with. You know who should help you do what you want to do. Some people will mess up your life. Some people will mess up your project if you don't make them understand how you want to do what you want to do. Therefore, you have to be very careful and mindful of the people you associate with. Some are poisonous, some are parasites, but some are very helpful. Never discuss big ideas with small minds, because small minds cannot comprehend big ideas. They can ruin those ideas. Many ideas and dreams and visions are being shattered by small minds. If you walk with the wise and learn from them and apply the lessons correctly, you grow wise. You will never do anything without the right knowledge for doing it. It's a very important statement. You must never forget. I've never met anyone who did something without the knowledge for doing it. How many books do you read? How do you seek knowledge? Do you stop learning at school, or you learn for the rest of your life? Learning is a lifelong process. Only at death should one stop learning. Are you willing to learn? Is the question. Leaders are ever willing to learn, and they are ever learning from everyone and every opportunity and every circumstance. How often do you attend seminars, webinars, and conferences? How many books do you read in a month or a year? Nobody will ever learn for you in life. An ignorant person never makes a good leader. John F. Kennedy made a statement that leadership and learning are indispensable to each other. A leader is a learner. If you cannot learn, then you cannot lead. What is your why? What is your purpose? What is your cause? Why do you do what you do? Why do you think you are worth following? Why does your organization exist? Why did you start the company, school, or organization? Why do you wake up every morning and go after something? Ultimately, why do you exist? You can know what you want to do in life. You can know how you want to do it. You can know with whom to do it. But the most important thing is, why do you want to do it? People will follow you only when they understand your why. If they make that why their own, they will do everything they can to make your vision come to pass. Your what may attract people, but the why determines whether they will stay with you or leave. If you sell your why to other people and they buy it, they will follow you if they grave. If your why becomes their why, they will do everything possible to make the vision come to pass. What is your why? Very few people know why they do what they do. That is why they don't attract the right people to help them. Your what can attract many people, but it is your why that determines whether you will keep them or not. Your what attracts people, but your why either keeps them or chases them away. The next thing is, what is your belief? What do you believe as a leader? People will follow you if you make them believe what you believe. If you cannot make them believe what you believe, then they will not follow you. Why should I follow you if I don't believe what you believe? If your belief is not even clear to you, then don't expect other people to ever comprehend it. Do you understand your belief? What do you believe as a leader of an organization? If you don't know what you believe, then how do you expect other people to believe what you believe? It is not possible for someone to believe what you believe if you don't understand it. Leaders start with why, then what, then how. Followers start with what, then how, then why. Only a few followers focus on the why, but all of them want to know the what up front. Simon Sinek said, if you hire people just because they can do a job, they will work for your money. But if you hire people who believe what you believe, they will work for you with blood, sweat, and tears. What a statement. I love this statement. Now, people who believe what you believe will take your cause and make it their own and fight for it with all their might. Do you make people believe what you believe? Do you make your followers understand what you believe? John Maxwell, a leadership expert, said the single biggest way to impact an organization is to focus on leadership development. There is almost no limit to the potential of an organization that recruits good people, raises them up as leaders, and continually develops them. Do you develop your people continually? What plans do you have for leadership development in your organization? Leadership starts with discovering your why, your life's purpose. If you discover your why, then you will lead yourself. If you lead yourself, you will lead other people. If you cannot lead yourself, you cannot lead other people. The greatest salespeople in the world sell their why first before they even sell their products. If someone buys your why, they will buy your products. If somebody buys your why, they will buy your what? And they will buy your how. Life is a business, and you are one of your most important products. To sell yourself in life, you must know your why and sell it fast. Then people can buy you. If you sell your why, people will buy you. Nobody is a leader who does not know his why. The greatest act of leadership is mentorship. Whom are you mentoring? You will not stay in your position forever, whether you like it or not. You will not stay there forever. Therefore, you should mentor other people. If you want to know how great a leader was, look at the people who come after him. Look at the people he produced. Great leaders produce greater leaders through mentorship. Through mentorship, leaders prepare others to receive the baton from them. Have you prepared someone to receive the baton from you? To whom will you hand over as a leader? Life is like a relay race. In a relay, one person runs and hands over to another person who does the same. However, before you hand over, you must prepare well to hand over the baton. The person who should receive from you must also be prepared well. Otherwise, it can fail. In a relay, none is successful until all are successful. Therefore, teamwork is very important, and leaders build teams of committed people around them with whom they execute their activities. What kind of team have you built around you as a leader? If you don't prepare other people to take over from you, then your venture could die with you. Many companies and organizations and businesses have died with their owners because the owners did not prepare people to take over from them. Are you preparing people to take over from you? If your vision will live beyond your lifetime, then you must prepare people who will carry on with the vision when you're gone. Know your what, know your why, know your where. Only then can you lead other people to the where while doing the what through the how because of the why. Leadership is a call to serve, but not to be served. Are you really serving or being served? How are you serving? Thank you very much.
Do we have any questions for Lazarus before we go to the next presenter? There are a few hands up. Maybe we can hear from Shika Kagbo. Tell us where you're coming from, your name, and then you can ask your question. Then after that, we can have Victor Caesar.
My name is Shika Kagbo from Sierra Leone, the National Coordinator for Network for Youth and Children's Development. There's no question anyway, but I have to send a compliment message to Mr. Lazarus. He's massive, you know, and I have to testify since I started listening or doing activist work, and he's the best speaker I've ever come across. I wish I could have a personal contact with him. It's really a massive, a real influencer, and you know the topic, you master it without no doubt. We talk about leadership, and I feel amazed. And this is exactly what we want to know and what we want to hear about leadership. Thank you very much, and thanks to the organizer for this wonderful, wonderful session. It's been an amazing. God bless you, and hope you continue with these programs. And we wish to work with you anytime, whenever, however.
Okay, thank you, Kagbo. Please share your contacts in the WhatsApp for me to take it up, and then we can chat with you after this session to see how we can collaborate. So you can send me your email address, please. Thank you. Okay, let's hear from, I think there was another hand.
My name is Victor Caesar Gondwe. I am from Malawi, and I work as an administrative officer for an organization called the Entire Foundation. My question for Mr. Lazaro, first of all, that was a good presentation. I wanted to know, as a leader in an authoritative position, whenever you're faced with a crossroads where your staff is not agreeing with the goals or the set strategic objectives for the organization, and they want to change a couple of things that you already set up beforehand, how do you address the situation as a leader? You know, you talked about being authentic and being receptive to other people. How can you deal with that type of situation as a leader in the most not extreme way, but a way where the team is able to collaborate, because you have good members that you want to keep, but they are also in conflict with what you want to do, and that is your objectives. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Caesar, and we could have a response.
Thank you very much for that powerful question. It's a very important question. Now, the most important thing you must do as a leader is to make people understand why you want to do what you do, why your organization exists. And then you have to make them understand what you want to do, and then how you want to do what you want to do. If somebody understands and buys your why you really want to do something, and they make it their own, and they understand what you really want to do, and they also understand how you want to do it, you will address every conflict that will arise. Because if I buy what you believe in and make it my own, we shall have no conflict. But of course, there are moments when some people don't want to understand. That's why I talked of having the right people on board, because there are some people who will make your organization. So in extreme cases, it is not to let some people go. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lazarus. I think you've answered it spot on.
Sorry, can I add something to it, Anne?
Okay, please go ahead, James. Always.
I just arrived in a quiet place. Thank you very much for the question as well. I agree entirely, obviously, with what Lazarus just said. There is an anecdote to leadership that sometimes is overseen by great leaders or even followers. That is, before you set in place what you want to implement, it is actually quite crucial that you do either a random selection of people that you speak to within the organization to gauge their views, their feelings, how they're feeling about the organization in general. If you set in place in concrete terms something that will not necessarily resonate with your organization's staff, who are the biggest resources in any organization, then you will fail to inspire them. And you can only inspire people by understanding what their values, what their views, how they want to proceed in their careers, what they're looking for, short, medium, and long term. To do that, don't set anything in stone, do a quick survey, put their views into the concrete ideas, and then when you're implementing it, communicate clearly why that is the implementation you're taking forward. Make them understand you've taken their views into account. Then conflict will be averted. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Maybe one last person who may want to respond or contribute to that discussion, then we can go to the next speaker. Thank you. We have one last person, Brian Lemetia. Please introduce yourself and you can ask your question.
Okay, well, in fact, it's John Paul Ngazurano with the Lemetia Brian Aliti. We are using the same gadget for this webinar. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead, please.
Okay. With the Brian and I actually the founders of African Center for Youth, Gender and Environment. We are currently intervening in a Chakatu refugee settlement. We do skilling, and also we are in child protection and the livelihoods of refugees. And one of our co-founders, I remember, came up one day and wanted something changed in our logo and also within our objectives. But one of the qualities I think in leadership I've come to learn lately, when we talk of listening, well, I know it costs, and also listening and letting go, despite of all the that takes place. Leadership mostly asks us to listen to what actual people are saying, and of course, listening and knowing that you have to give feedback, and how to give feedback counts. The speaker just well commented on it, but indirectly, well, clear communication. But sometimes I found it necessary to let go, even when you know someone is trying to communicate something, but then you ask yourself, why is it coming at this particular moment? Is it necessary for that change? So to get the followers, in short, we have got to listen, to understand them, and maybe communicate effectively. Back to you, the presenter. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll now go on to our next facilitator for the day. Mustafa, I see you there. You can unmute yourself and then you can go through your presentation now.
My name is Mustafa Gerima. I'm from Uganda, and I'm an environmental activist who has specialized in the shea nut tree species. Many of you may know that there's a tree species called the shea nut, and this is a tree species that is exclusive to the African soil, and it spans in 21 countries, all the way from Senegal up to Ethiopia, including my own Uganda. And so how I came into this is what our concern here is. It was in 2016, I was admitted in a hospital in northern Uganda called Lacho Hospital, that is from Gulu. And while in the hospital, I saw people scrambling over the few tree sets. And I said, oh, it's in the hospital that people know the importance of trees, but outside the hospital areas, they still go destroying the trees. So I said to myself, once I walk out of the hospital, I will leave my classroom teaching. Remember, I am a secondary school biology teacher. So I said, I'm not going to remain in the four walls of the classroom, and instead I will have to walk out of the classroom and go into the open air. So I decided for myself to leave the classroom teaching. That means I left gainful employment and had to go into the uncharted waters of activism. And so I started my environmental activism in 2016, just after walking out of the hospital. And in 2017, I was advised to go to the Rwenzori regions that were are, well known for environment. And so that's where I had to get with the environment. And so as I was in 2019, I was traveling from Kasese via Kampala to my home area, that's West Nile. And as I was entering West Nile region, I saw numerous white sacks along the road, and I was like asking people in the bus, what are these sacks containing? Because it has been 20 years or so when I was away from my home area. And so they told me these are, sacks containing charcoal. And they say, but when we used to be growing we only knew charcoal was found along the river banks of River Nile. And how come now we have charcoal all the way from Nebi up to Arua town along that part? So I was told, yes, because there are tree species that are very, very, very superior for charcoal burning. And this tree species is the shea nut. I said, no, shea nut has been our heritage. And even when we were in school, we used to, rely on the butter or the oil from the shea nut. And I, for one, as a biology teacher, and of course, and as an ecology aspect of it, I can't really allow this to go like that. All this time, nobody has been, talking about this, and the shea nut trees are now going down. So I decided that I have to talk. I said that I have to raise my voice. And so I had to write a small concept, and in the concept, I had 8-point agenda. And then I shared this concept with my friends, and including my legislators, the members of parliament. And so, oh, this is a good one. So on the agenda, on the 8-point program, I had the first one that was a walk that was to raise the eyebrows of the people. And this was not just an ordinary walk. It was a walk that was going to be unnecessarily long, so that people would, get really concerned. So what I did was to organize a walk all the way from the steps of Parliament in Kampala up to the regional city of West Nile, that is Arua, a walk that was 520 kilometers. So along the way, I was trying to interact with people, seeing how the charcoal was aligned along the road. But my main target was to talk to my people of West Nile. So as I was entering the gates of West Nile, that is the Pakwach Bridge, the famous Pakwach Bridge. So that is when I saw indeed my people were concerned, and there was that kind of concern. And the way I was welcomed at Pakwach Bridge was so hilarious. So that was how I started the whole thing. And after that, I started moving from district to district, and I moved in the 12 districts of West Nile. And then after I said this is not enough, I organized another walk to go to, to the offices of the United Nations Environment Program. Little did they know that these offices were in Africa instead of being in the United States of America, where the headquarters of UN are. So I found out that the UNEP offices were headquartered in Nairobi. I said, I think Nairobi, I can also do another walk. And Nairobi, I organized a walk to go, and this walk was, the walk was to start in Feb 2020. That was last year. And so on the 11th of Feb, I embarked on that walk again from the steps of Parliament. This time I was flagged off by the bosses of the Parliament. It was supposed to be the deputy speaker by then, but he was out. So he delegated the leader of opposition in the House, who is a former teacher again, and that is Honorable Bate, and all. And so, yeah, I was flagged off, and I went that, and it took me, 19 days to reach Nairobi. That's a distance of 666 kilometers. And yes, I was very well received by the United Nations Environment Program Office, together with the World Agroforest Center that took it upon itself to co-host me, because they got concerned, and they were very much eager to see myself and to share with me. And remember, I planned this walk to also coincide with a very important day, and that's a day of the person I got inspired from, and that is none other than the late Professor Wangari Maathai. So I programmed that I should be attending the Wangari Maathai Day, which actually has been adopted as African Environment Day, and that is well recognized by the AU. So I also attended the Wangari Maathai Day that is usually celebrated in Uhuru Park in the mighty city of Nairobi. And that was from Nairobi that I came back, and just after a short while, I was caught up now by the emergence of the COVID in Africa. Actually, the first emergence was reported just 3 days as I left the Jomo Kenyatta and Kenyatta International Airport. Yeah, so back to the activism. Yes, as the previous speakers had said, where you see a reason and you follow it, I think you will always have the heart on it. And as I talk now, it's 8 years when I left, Gain for Employment. And now, yeah, I am in activism, and it is purely what your heart desires you to do. It's not where somebody has to pay you for, and somebody you need to get, reward from people or like that. No, it is purely that kind of passion that originates from the deepest part of your heart, and it makes you sometimes to behave like a lion. And I wish I was in a better place for the internet connectivity, and you will have seen me live like I am a jungle man, but of course, that one is not my choice, but it is what I have found myself in now. So the sheer nut advocacy, it is something I thought was just for educational purpose, but right now I have found myself to be a leader with all the mandate upon myself. I have to be an all-rounder, and as you said, I think there is need for us to build now that kind of connectivity. And once the connectivity is built up, we need to have, that kind of leadership structures put in place. And so, yeah, here is, but as I said earlier on, once where there's the will, there will always be the way. And this is my third year when I now left other environmental aspects, but purely to concentrate on the share issue. The share is a very, very, very precious jewel in Africa, actually. And seeing it go down like this is really, really, really heartbreaking. And so, yeah, I really have decided to sacrifice my life, and I've even sacrificed the comfort of my children. For those of you who might not know, my family actually stays in Tanzania, but it's now 8 years when I'm back to this country, Uganda, and I am purely physically absent from them, but yeah, in spirit we are together. And so this is how the life of a leader, a lion-hearted leader, sometimes needs to be. You need to take steps that are not in the eyes of the ordinary people. And so, yeah, this is how our life in the field of activism is. And of course, it has a lot of challenges. And I have always said to myself and to people who try to ask me, the more challenges I get, the better the energy I get. So to me, challenges are my driving force, and they are where you can correct yourself. Are you doing the right thing or the wrong one? And why are you doing it? So if you have all these to yourself, yes, then that's when you'll have a reason to persist. So in summary, what I could only say is, in this kind of initiatives or struggles, there are some aspects of words that you need to follow. One is that kind of passion for you to do it. Then 2, the commitment for you to do that thing. 3 is your determination to do it. Then your persistence on that. If you have all this, then what you are doing in the long run, you will see there is essence in it. There is a substance, a substance in it. But when you begin it, you always have your doubt. So for you to be looked at as a leader, it's where you stand, you defend your own initiatives. And once you've started something, you just need to go very, very much with it persistently until other people also come to see, oh, this is that. So I have been in the field for 3 years now, and purely on sacrificial basis, and I have even forgotten that I used to be a salary earner, but still I am here. So in summary, what I want to say here is, from being a biology teacher, I now opted to get out and teach people in the open air, much as I still call myself a teacher. So I no longer teach in the 4 walls of the classroom. I teach in the open air. I have so many platforms. I have I talk through the radios. Sometimes I appear on the TVs. That's my recent thing. Right now, I'm actually attending the COP online, and I also go through the villages, interacting with the people directly. I'm given platforms like in funerals, in weddings. So all that, I call them an open air kind of platform instead of being in the 4 walls of the classroom. So that is how I do my advocacy. Thank you very much. And thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Mustafa. Your story, your journey is very, very inspiring to all of us. Thank you for sharing, and we wish you all the best. But we could have a few reactions from the participants to your story. So let's see if we have anyone to ask or say anything. What I pick from you is your, of course, the passion. You had a vision to really see the shea butternut preserved, and then the passion for it. You have inner motivation. You're not motivated by money or anything. It's just self-fulfillment. So those are some of the things I pick from you. I see Moses' hand is up. Moses Dombo, please go ahead and make your remarks in a few minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I actually just wanted to commend Mustafa for turning a painful experience into a very successful story. His story is captivating. It's very interesting.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We've got that. Yes, James, before we move to the next, please come on.
Sure. It's a very quick one, actually, because I think what Mustafa is doing is absolutely amazing and inspiring. What you have not done, though, yet, is whether you are getting any donations to help you in your journey, and if not, why not? And are you able to get that out to help you do so? Thank you.
Yeah, good question, really. Yeah, as I said earlier on, I think it was a more like a kind of call, because you remember I left gainful employment, to go into this kind of initiative without a pay. But of course, on the way, in the course of doing it, I realized automatically I needed some kind of resources, one of it being a financial resource. And of course, through the social media, so many people have been asking me and say, can you please get yourself in this way? So in short, what I want to say is, I think I have just gotten a website with the help of a friend. I even don't know how she did it. She's an Indian friend from Mombasa, but currently I think in the UK. So she has produced a website, and we're trying to see if we can test what a donation is. But I have not got a donation apart from where I called people to donate for seedlings of shea tree. Remember, July every year is what we call the shea month, and is recognized by the United Nations. So on the 16th of July, we had the peak of the activity. And so I called on people to contribute to that. They said, no, it can't just be like that. So they opened a GoFundMe page that was purely for the seedlings, because I'd wanted to plant 2,000 shea trees within my community. So right now, this is running, and I think I will also share the link for this. And I think, yes, but I think come next year, if all goes well, then we'll open a bigger picture of trying to seek for donations. Thank you very much for that question.
I would like to now invite Ruth Atim, one of our facilitators for today.
My name is Atim Ruth. I work for the Gender Tech Initiative Uganda, an organization that has been there for, I think, 4 years now. And most of our work rotates around digital safety, gender and technology. We're basically an organization that supports and empowers women to become tech savvy, and motivate them to love the internet. Yeah, so thank you so much, Light Empowerment Foundation, for having me on board and inviting me to talk about my experience on such a platform. Such platforms help us grow as young startups, people starting out in this whole NGO world. Yeah, so such platforms helps people to know more about our work, and it also compels them to support us. Those who get compelled to support our work. I started out as a news reader, and then after campus, I got, someone liked me and took me on as a news editor at her radio station. Yeah, and then in between I had babies, and I got a break because I couldn't work with a young baby. But then in my work as a journalist, as I was doing work on the broadcast media, of course, I had a bit of challenges with my sources who would, harass me. And by then, technology had just come up. I think Facebook was there, but I wasn't so familiar with how to maneuver the online space. So there were quite a number of challenges, and I would get really, harassed online by my sources, the people that I go to look for stories. They start sending me, funny texts and all that. So, and this is what drove me, to, in the long run, to start up an organization that supports women. I'm working right now with journalists more, because they are the ones who are at the forefront of such violence, based on my previous history. And we've been able to support them with skills, with trainings on how to keep safe online, because most of them have worked with a couple of them who've considered exiting the profession, and because of the harassments that they get from different people, their sources, the people that their acquaintances, basically general harassment that happens on the online spaces. And sometimes most of these harassments also spill over to the offline spaces, with threats of people, the attackers wanting to inflict harm on their families or the people that they love the most if they don't drop an article that they're probably working on. And this has made the newsroom at the moment to be basically male dominated, because the women are dropping off because of the violence that they're facing. And that's when the Gender Tech Initiative came up to support. So how did we reach here? So when we started out, it was not easy. Starting out an initiative out of the blue is always never easy. But because I had the drive, I had the passion for, because of the experiences that I went through, and I didn't want that history to repeat itself. I decided to, register it legally. So it's registered legally as a company guaranteed by liability here in Uganda, and our operations are legal. I think that's the first step that someone should take if they want to work. We first started out as a CBO, but our operations were mostly in Gulu district. So, and we realized that having it as a CBO would limit our areas of operation. And then we decided to spread our wings and register it as a company limited by guarantee. In that we were able to start working in different districts, in northern Uganda, in West Nile, in Lango sub-region, and that has helped our work to reach very many women, and that has really helped. Because if you visit our website, I'm going to drop a link a bit later on, you'll realize that most of the work that we've done has been able to support the young women, the young schoolgirls who are still in school and not aware of what career options to take. But because I am in the tech world, I've been basically encouraging them to consider, taking up ICT careers. First of all, they pay well. Secondly, there are few women in this particular field because of the stereotype that women cannot do tech-related stuff. So we encouraging these young girls to consider, if you can, please consider taking up an ICT career, because the world is evolving. Technology is evolving. So the best we can do now is to equip the young girls when they're still very young and half-baked to have a mindset that yes, tech is the way to go. And yes, and this has helped. And we have a couple of young ambassadors in secondary schools, lower secondary schools, higher primary schools, who look up to us and are grateful for the support and for the mentorship that we are offering them. Yes, so I'll still go back to how we reached here. So when I started out, I was alone. It's very difficult for people to believe in your vision, especially when there is no money attached to it. I was alone, basically. So what I would do, I from Gulu, I moved to Kampala. I know Kampala is so competitive. You see women attending seminars, you see people really doing great things. So you get challenged. I got that mental challenge, and I'm like, okay, I am in this competitive town. If I'm to sit home and do nothing, or if I'm to sit home, there's a way you feel when you see your fellow women doing things that you can also do, but you're not doing. So I got the drive. We wrote the constitutions. I got the organization registered. And then I started attending people's events. I would look out their events online. I would be online all the time. So if I see maybe there is a physical meetup or there's a virtual meetup about ABCD, I would look for the login details, and yes, I would attend. And from those constant meetings that I would attend with various people, I got to meet people I am so open-minded, and I get along so easily with people. So what happens is when I go to an event and I see that you've made a comment of something that I really like, I'll definitely text you, reach out to you, exchange contacts, and then I try to forge a way of collaboration. I'm like, okay, I have this dream, I have this vision. How can me and you work together to ensure that this comes to life? And God has always been on my side. When I speak to someone about the things that I like or the things that I want to see it come to pass, in most cases it has happened, yes, and that has helped me to build a network of people, a network of women who are like-minded, who are also passionate about gender and technology, a network of women who love to see other women, who love to lift other women, especially those who are maybe economically deprived, those who like sort of losing hope because things are not working out for them. So like we have this network of such a cohort of such women that we when a person has an idea, we sit on a forum and we talk about it, and then we see how to execute it, and in most cases we do execute them. We don't procrastinate that, okay, let's sit back and wait for ABC to happen. So we basically get our hands on, we give each other person task, and 90% of the activities are done because all of us have the passion and the drive to have these things come to life. So when you attend these most of these events, don't like go there and then keep to yourself. Go there and open up, meet people, introduce yourself, design cards. You could not be having a position or a big position that is worth appearing on a business card, but no, the fact that you are doing something, design that card, go out, when you meet people, hand over your card. You never know, out of the 100 cards you've handed out, 2 or 3 people will call you, reach out to you with hopes of collaborating on something, and before you know it, you're already working out on something. And then we've also had challenges, like I've told you, when you don't have, when you're working on something and the finance or the money is not there, there are very, very few people, honestly, tend to come on board, to support you. So like I've also spent several sleepless nights writing proposals back and forth. I remember when was that, in 2018, I wrote about 60 proposals. 60, as in 60 proposals, and out of that only 2 went through. Like each time you write a few days, you get a reject email, but because I kept telling myself, you know what, I kept listening to other people's, these motivation videos that we see on YouTube, how people start out. It's always hard to start out, but when you start out and you're persistent, something nice always comes out of your persistence. Yes, so the reject emails were there, quite a number of them, but that didn't break me down because I knew my worth. I knew what I really wanted to achieve. Yes, so the few positive responses that we received were worth it. Not much, because when you're just starting out, there is no donor who is going to trust you with huge sums of money to implement an activity. So yeah, so I could get I started a training that I was supposed to implement in Northern Uganda. It was for an activity. Yeah, but because I implemented the activity and it was good, and I didn't have staff. I was alone, guys. I was alone. I didn't have any single staff. So because I didn't have money to pay them, then I asked myself, how am I going to do this? Then I kept, watching some things on YouTube about how to run a nonprofit, how to manage a startup, and then I landed on a text that it's always good to hire on demand, especially when you're just starting out. So that's what I would do. So each time I get money, to carry out any activity, I would get people on demand. If I feel, I am also a trainer, so if I feel like I need 2 more trainers, I'll get those trainers. If I feel like I need a rapporteur or someone to handle my social media or someone to, handle the logistics of the whole activities or the whole project, I will hire them on demand. Then after that, of course, we'll draw out a contract. So after that, we cease to be in operation with them. And that has helped me to create a huge impact with few resources. So when you look at the work we've done, someone out there might think we are so big, we are so fully fledged, but I mean, it's not. We are starters. We are start out. I mean, we're just starting out, but because we've mastered the art of running these campaigns, we've mastered the art of working with the art of collaboration and working with different people and leveraging on the networks that we have to leveraging on those networks to achieve a certain a particular cause, and that has helped us to appear as big as other people would want us to appear. And secondly, because we don't have the money to run most of the logistics of the organization, we also don't have an office, like a physical location. We don't have that, but we operate virtually. So most of our meetings are done online, like we are doing now. So I have like 2 people now whom we coordinate stuff with. So like we are 3 on the team. So each time we have an activity or we have a project, we have virtual meetups. So after the virtual meetups, we spread our wings to the field, and then we get staff and hire them, like I told you, hire them on demand. And that has helped us grow as an organization. And we hope that in 3, 4, 5 years to come, we hope that we will be the organization or the initiative that we really want to be. We want to be an organization that supports women countrywide. We from Uganda, we want to go in different other regions of Africa. It's a dream. It's a dream that we have. It's a vision that we have. And I know, because of the persistence and the commitment that you have towards this, it's something that it's going to pass. And I believe that the future is bright. So I would encourage anyone out there who wants to start out, who has a dream, who has a vision. Don't sit on it. Don't let it go. Just speak to someone about it. If you feel like you cannot execute it alone, speak to someone about it and work hard. It takes a lot of time, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of brain. You keep thinking a lot to make sure that whatever that you're working on, comes to life. So, wow, I think that's basically it from me. If you have any questions regarding my journey, you can shoot. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Called Hajat Medina Nahamo Jale. I think the moderator warned us earlier that they are more into their kind of work is apolitical, but I come from the political world. I'm a politician, but also a scientist who is so passionate about the environment. So I've enjoyed presentations this evening from brothers and sisters. I just have this comment, and for me, the issue is whenever we talk about the NGO world, the question of we have to be neutral keeps popping up. And for me, I think that is where the problem is, because we are all political in by nature. So if we keeping these people away or from the talk or discussing something that we think should keep us neutral, then we lose track. Most of the politicians, some of the things they do or some of the actions that we think are not actually favorable to humanity, or some of the things that the NGO world strives so hard to do, can be settled if you can talk to these people, the so-called politicians. If you can tell them, yes, this is the way to go, but again, for us to succeed environmentally, this is what, because the biggest advocacy I imagine that we could have is to have a collaborative effort of both those in the political and those in the NGO world or in the other forums. So we must work together. And then to my sister Atim, Hala's presentation, she also talks about focusing on women, how she wants to uplift women. but we can't fully uplift women when we leave out the men. Some of the mistakes that we see that keep being profiled maybe by our brothers is because they are also left out of the know. They are left out of knowledge, they are left out of information. So some of the things they do, we really can't blame them, is because they don't know what they are doing is actually wrong. So I think you can't achieve maximum empowerment of women without empowering the men as well, without making sure that they are informed about some of the actions or the do's that we think are not favorable to the woman. So thank you so much. Otherwise, it was nice listening in to friends, and I've been inspired by your stories. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Hajati Medina. As you said, we can't leave out actors like politicians in this journey to cause change. Actually, I believe that politicians are biggest custodians in this space, and they can contribute a lot to, we really have to engage them, while at the same time we try to maintain that we are non-political. So thank you so much. So let's have Moro Daniel come on board with his question. Then.
Well, thank you very much, the moderator. Thank you very much, Light Empowerment Foundation, for this initiative. I'm really so much happy. I think that the most interesting part is the one which is going to follow next, that I'm waiting for it so much because it's one of the things that I've started right now. But my major concern is directly going to my sister, that is Ruth. According to her presentation, I was so much inspired because I also belong to the same dockets apparently, because as I talked earlier on that I am a starting to come up with an initiative that is going to be focusing so much on the side effect which has been caused by COVID in my community, that is empowering the girl child. Those one have been out. So my major concern is basically like going to her like, as she's now, I believe she's now faring, how is she handling the women from economically incapacitated family? Is there any package that their company is really giving out to girls that they dropped out and they cannot be able to afford the amount of money which is needed for them to undertake that training? And then too, I know the challenge that I've been getting apparently is to see how best the idea gets implemented. What do I mean? Basically, like how to mobilize the resources. Yeah, the idea could be there. At least I know I'll formalize it within the local area. But now we need to begin implementing. We face a number of challenges to see how best we get some of the resources, like maybe to empower them, like give them some of the certain things. How can I go about this? It is just like a concern to her, and I would seek for our guidance here as I wait for the other aspect of the proposal writing, because that is the step that I am in right now. Thank you.
Okay, just to respond to your question, well, our organization we don't give out handouts to people, the people that we work with, but because we leverage on the networks that we have. We have different organizations that also support women. Like, for example, we have an organization called Akina Mama, Africa. There are, her Empire. There are a couple of organizations that support, like, give physical handouts to women, especially those who've been who have suffered the economic brunt of the of the pandemic. Yeah, so we don't give out physical handouts, but we make referrals to other organizations that could support. Yeah, and then secondly, on how to start out, it's never easy to start out. Start writing proposals. Must look at the field that you want to work on. Which particular field do you want to work on? Then there are very many. I could come across calls for proposals in that area that you are working on. Then I can share it with you, or I could help you we work on it together. And then to see that to channel it in a way that when a potential donor, a sub-donor reads through your proposal, it can be, given a go. Yeah, so and then also, like I always talk about networking, you know, it's always good to step out. I don't know which town you're in, but it's always good to step out, reach out to different people. There are very many people who are so resourceful on this forum. Get their contacts that have been sent in the chats here, get their contacts. Reach out to them, email them, seek for their opinion and support on how you can grow as a young organization. And I believe that when you keep doing this over time, of course, you're going to be, you know, building a network of people and getting to know them. Before you know it, your organization will start, picking up. We also have James on call. He's also very resourceful. You could also reach out to him, and he can refer you to organizations that can, you know, offer a helping hand. Yeah. Thank you. I hope I answered your question.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Over to you, Fiesta.
Wow, thank you so much, Anne. Thank you, Ruth, Atim, and everyone that has asked a question. I'm sure Francis is fired up right now to start his presentation, because there's a lot of expectation concerning proposal writing. Yeah, from Ruth's presentation, she turned a challenge into an opportunity, which I believe is very key. It should be something that someone should take up to step out. You know, every challenge around you should never be a hurdle to throw you down, but rather to lift you up. And also she talked about maximizing the networks around you. Otherwise, because of time, I would have wanted her to perhaps sample us how to, she talked of it forging partnerships, but rather me, I would take that as pitching an idea. People follow ideas, people buy and sponsor ideas. I would ask her how she pitches, or given a minute, how would she sell an idea? She did a number of that, let alone 60 proposals. You can imagine that. So without wasting any time, let me take this opportunity and board Francis Xavier Ochieng. You're welcome.
Thank you, Esther. Thank you, the organizer. And kindly help me share my screen. I see that it's disabled from my end because they say host disabled participant screen sharing. I wanted to share the presentation, but I can't. If someone could help me share it, or if I could be given the right to share it.
You have the right to share. Please do.
I'm trying to, oh yes, now I can see it, yes. Just a minute. Okay. Is everybody able to view my screen now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, please.
All right then. Maybe I could just mute my video. You will just maybe need only to hear my voice. Nice meeting you all, and thanks to all. Thanks to Anne and others for organizing this webinar. I would like to make a few disclaimers. One is that what I'm going to talk about is not new. Many of you have read so many guidelines about proposal writing, perhaps better than what I'm going to present. And maybe what I'm going to present will be something that you've heard already. Some scholar, Arthur Schopenhauer, an existentialist philosopher who I respect so much once said that there is nothing new under the sun. All these things that we see are mere repetitions, presentations, interpretations of things that have happened before in different circumstances. So when you hear me talk about what has happened before or what you already knew, please do not stone me. It's just that I'm doing what Arthur Schopenhauer long ago in the 19th century talked about, that there's really nothing new under the sun. These things have been said before. And in any case, you should even be worried if I said something which is totally new, because it might mean that now I am away from what is conventional or what works, what has been adapted and used over time. Allow me, on a moderator, to go to what I have prepared. Why is it important to write a proposal as a way of fundraising? Because there are so many ways of fundraising. Last year when I gave a presentation, I just said that proposal writing is just one of them. There are others. For example, you may go to an embassy and you, with the profile of your organization, and you seek to talk to them. Maybe as a way of introducing myself, I'm Francis Xavier Ochieng. I'm Ugandan, and I'm currently working for Dan Church Aid as a humanitarian coordinator. So if I have to make reference to the Danish agents, first of all, the Danish embassy, for instance, like other embassies, they have funds, for instance, that are under good governance. So if you think you are carrying out or you want to carry out a project that focuses on good governance and human rights, one would actually work with the profile of the organization, and you seek to meet somebody in the embassy. When you introduce yourself and why you want to meet someone there, they say, oh, I think you need to see so and so. That's one way of fundraising. You will talk to someone who is in charge of Google, human rights and good governance. If you went to the Dutch embassy, for instance, you may have a proposal around the sexual reproductive health and rights. They have funding along that, and that could also help. You say, I have an idea as an organization, I represent this organization, I want to talk to someone about this idea. So again, that could be another embassy, but like other embassies, they have different areas of focus. That's one way to knock doors, to go look for funds. There are many ways of looking for funds, of course, but proposal writing is just one of them. So for today, I want to focus on proposal writing. Why is it important to write a proposal? I will not maybe read each and everything, but because I can share the presentation with you hereafter, I just will highlight some of them. Now, we write a proposal because without it, one would not know whether you need a funding support or not. It's now when you write a proposal that speaks to, it shows a potential donor that you are actually in need of support. So a donor now believes more in a written document that lays out what your organization is, what it does, what you need to do with the funding, how the funding will be managed, the duration of that funding requested, what you are actually going to deliver on in terms of what your organization does. Also, because resources are generally limited and so many organizations are running to the same donors. So CBOs, NGOs, and private sectors, so they require it. So it's very competitive. There is no better way of doing this than putting ideas in a proposal form. However, we face so many problems when we are writing proposals. And some of them are, we are confused about the format. There are as many proposal formats as possible, and they vary from donor to donor, but the basic information required by various donors is generally similar. albeit a few fund specific snags or slogans. So you will realize that when you're writing proposals, the format may vary, but the kind of information required is quite similar. And yet again, we always have some confusion about how will this proposal look like, how should I package it, and so on. The other, which is even perhaps more serious, is a fear of proposal rejections. And we are saying no matter how much of an expert we are in writing proposals, the underlying fear of proposal rejection hovers over us while writing it, because the outcome of our proposal is always in the unknown. You know, anything which is about the future, you cannot predict it with certitude. So you wonder, will my proposal succeed? Will it not succeed? We want to be almost over 50% sure that this proposal will go through before we can write a proposal. I listened to Atim say that she wrote over 60 proposals and only 2 were successful. That is the spirit. We don't have to live under the fear that our proposal will be rejected. We have also the idea of tight deadlines. We are expected to complete working proposals under very tight deadlines, and this comes with the pressure on the deadlines. There is a certain sociologist who once said, work expands occupy the time given. My background was also in teaching. I was a university lecturer for over 6 years, about 6 to 7 years. You would give an assignment to students and you say, I want this assignment in 2 weeks. The first week will go unattended. The last week is when the students are looking for where they wrote the question, the coursework question. And then they are going from one colleague to the other. Do you have the question that the lecturer gave us to work on? So when they are left with the 3 days, that's when they're busy writing doing the work. All of them are running after the same books for references and so on. So you'll find that work will expand. The work that they could do very efficiently and reference very well within the 2 weeks given, they will do it within two to 3 days. But the rest of the days, they are yet relaxed because they think they still have a lot of time on their end, in their hands. So work will tend to expand and occupy that entire time. So the same thing with the proposal writing. The same thing with the proposal writing. You set out to write a proposal, maybe they say the deadline is 30th of December.
I have one.
So
kindly
November,
mute Christine. Christine, if you could kindly mute.
Yes, I can get some feedback in the background. Thanks, Fiesta. Yeah, so I was saying that sometimes we get to know the call for proposals well in advance, and we are given perhaps 2 months. They say the call is out and the deadline is 30th of December. So the whole of November will go without work being done. Maybe the first or second week of December is when we are trying to look for material to reference, trying to see what is the proposal, what should we focus on in our proposal. So the work will expand to occupy the entire time, but most significantly is that towards the end, towards the deadline is when we are trying to rush with the work. Then the other concern normally is the solicited and non-solicited proposals. So you know very well that sometimes some funding agencies say we do not receive and do not consider unsolicited proposals. So in other words, you have to wait until the call is out. But for others, they are quite open. You can discuss the idea well in advance. So with that preamble, we're saying, what do we need to do before writing a proposal? Before we start writing a proposal, it's important for us to do some research. No matter how small or big the project is expected to be, so references exist and we need to reference it accordingly. So usually it's expected that the NGO has enough information at hand about the problem or the project before writing the proposal. Therefore, you need to gather all related information about the issue that you want to work on before you sit down to write the proposal. One of the most important things in planning the proposal is to consult all stakeholders who are to be involved in the process or in the prospective project. There are generally three main categories of stakeholders to consult here. One is the applicant, you who is applying, the one who is submitting a proposal, the lead agency. So you need to do a lot of work as an applicant yourself. We shall come to that in our next slides. The second stakeholder is a community. So the most important stakeholder for whom the project is conceived is a community. Community members or beneficiaries or target group has to be involved in the proposal planning processes so that the project reflects strong qualities of participation and community ownership. They ought to be consulted to get their buy-in. Are they ready to participate or they are not? To understand their level, nature, and extent of participation. This is particularly so if the project or the donor is not, the fund is not target group led or merely beneficiaries. So what I'm saying here is that you have to engage the community as much as possible, because most formats, proposal formats, they will ask you how the beneficiaries are going to be involved. And if you have engaged with them, this information is very easy to just fill out. But if you have not consulted them, you will begin to think, maybe I should say, this is how they are going to participate, this is what they're asking for, and so on. So, but at the preparatory level, if you have consulted them, this is very easy. Then the donor agency. In some cases, at the initial phases of the call for proposals or expression of interest, the donor expresses willingness to provide guidance on the process. This is particularly so if the funding focuses on vulnerable persons, such as persons with different abilities, who sometimes we also call persons with disabilities, who may require complementary support. So these ones, sometimes they say, please, you can reach out to us, you discuss, and see how we can guide you through the application process. In such situations, the donor may even request before submitting a full proposal, some level of interaction or preliminary processes to first be undertaken. Secondly, it is critical researching the donor priorities while conceiving the proposal. It's also a useful activity to go through the information and priority beforehand. Otherwise, you may hurriedly submit a proposal outside of what the donor interests are. Reading the donor interests, if it aligns with your interest, it will work out well. Because if, for instance, they are focusing on persons with disabilities, let's say it's a funding from the Disability Rights Fund, and they are dealing with maybe issues to do with the livelihoods, and they talk about active citizenship and the general issues of budget, conferences, and so on. You know, you want to get a positive response. But if you know the interest of the donor and you say that this is funding from the Disability Rights Fund, so the focus should be those who are persons with different abilities or persons with disabilities, then you will have read into the mind of the donor, and therefore your proposal will be relevant. Otherwise, also you ought to know that some donors also discourage any form of contact with the proposing organization during this process, as any such contact may be viewed as an attempt to influence the outcome of the process, and therefore it must be avoided. So how do you know your potential donor? Make sure you gather enough information about your prospective donor, such as the aid priorities, the focus or priority or target group. For example, as I already said, the Disability Rights Fund would ideally target the disabled persons organizations or persons with disabilities, etc. Even if it is not explicitly stated. Just when you read about Disability Rights Fund, don't say, I want to deal with the farmer groups, women who are doing farming, and those who want to maybe do some, maybe tailoring and so on. No. Once you have researched, read about Disability Rights Fund, you will clearly know where the donor, what kind of proposal would be acceptable to a donor. Secondly, the donor's country strategy paper, if it is possible, if it is there. Some donors have published areas of focus indicated in the expression of interest. For example, USAID funding will have a focus on ICYD. Recently in Uganda, there was a heavy competition on the ICY funded project because it was quite some big money, about $100 million. So big agencies bidded for it. But already there was published information about expression of interest. So if you read the country strategy paper for Uganda, it will guide you along which areas you should focus your proposal, or if you even should go for it at all. Next is that the proposal guidelines. Each donor has its specific guidelines which need to be well understood and not mix up with other or general requirements that we may be accustomed or used to. Look at the specific guidelines to a particular donor or expression of interest that may be out. Then previously funded projects and programs. In addition to the published information on the call for proposals or expression of interest, previous donor funding priorities provides guidance on the pattern or trajectory or interest of the donor. You look at USAID and you say, okay, if USAID is providing funding, what have been their areas of focus? Because that will give you a general idea. In case of doubt, at least general idea, looking at what they have previously funded, what projects and programs. So you have to understand the donor very well before you dive in and you throw in a proposal. It may be something that may be of no interest to the donor. Then the applicant background. This is the best opportunity to present the best picture of our institution. As I told you, as an organization, you need to do work on yourself. And this is a moment, the applicant background, which is required, will enable you to focus and to present the most relevant information to the prospective donor. However, there is a tendency among proposal writers to just copy previous information into the section of the proposal requiring background information of the agency. However, this information may sometimes be outdated. It is not unusual to forget adding an important NGO activity that specifically relates to and speaks to your new or proposed project. So the point I'm making here is that although if either because of time, if you wait until the last minute, you want to copy and paste. This is my organization. Let me copy this information because the organization is still focusing on this, programming areas. Let me just copy and paste. You need to add some specifics that may give you a mileage because you may leave out some important information that could relate to this new proposal that you're now bidding for. Every proposal you are submitting is a competition, is a fresh competition. Don't say these people have submitted proposals to them before, therefore they already know about us. No, you have to tailor make it, even including the information about the organization. Therefore, it's important also to carry out discussions with your colleagues about the project to ensure that there is a thorough, adequate, and updated information about the organization in the proposal. The consultative, you need to have a consultative meeting, and this consultative process with the colleagues in the agency needs to apply the SWOT tool and find out the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats of your organization. The outcome of this SWOT helps us to answer the sharp questions that may seek to critique our proposal. Excuse me. what I'm saying here is that once you have had, you know, like you come together and say, can we critique our organization? Where do we have the greatest strengths? Where are our weaknesses? What opportunities are there and the threats? So because in most of the formats that we shall get, we'll realize that these questions, what are the challenges that the organization has, what opportunities are there, how do you intend to deal with those challenges? But if you have done the SWOT analysis as an organization, it will no longer be a burden to just the few who are doing the proposal. You will now be able to fill out such sections very easily. Excuse me. Then the actual proposal. The general format of the proposal consists of those aspects: the problem statement, the project rationale or justification, project goal and objectives, strategies, activities, results, impact, outcomes, outputs, and the budget. Let me quickly go through those key areas. The project, the problem statement. The basic format for a proposal covers many concepts and issues: project funding and project implementation, etc. Information requirement by donors evolves due to the experiences gathered by donors in project implementation and funding processes, thereby requiring new explanations from the applicant through the proposal. The point stated there is that, you know, each time donors send out call for proposals or expression of interest, there will always be new information. They will always try to dig deeper because they have interacted with so many proposals. So based on their experiences, they try to dig deeper, and the more you understand the donor and do your own homework, the better. So problem statement or project rationale in a proposal. The problem statement or project rationale gives an explanation about the issue that is being addressed by the project and why it needs to be addressed. It also argues in favor of implementing this project in the proposed area in the existing conditions. It's very critical that we give evidence to what we are writing in this section of the proposal. Evidence can be in form of either research, existing literature, or data collected by the organization itself. So these are some of the key points in developing a problem statement. Problem statement of rationale is a brief analysis or summary of the problems identified relating to the problem, the project or issue to be addressed by the project. It must be precise and point-to-point basis. Use of quotes, live examples, references, research data, and press articles would be very useful. It must be very specific to donor issues and priorities. Give references to other NGOs, government work in the area working against the same problem would be very useful. Don't present it as if this is it's going to be like a discovery, it's going to be something of its kind. Even when you are doing research at whatever level, whether it's at a master's level or PhD, there will always be a section for you to do literature review. The literature review will help you to locate other bodies of knowledge that speak to what you want to do. Because there is, as I said, as I quoted Schopenhauer, we are not doing something that is so unique that nobody under the sun has ever conceived of the idea or has ever thought or written about it. And because of that, and everyone knows, and even your supervisors will tell you that, no, you have to do references. You have to read existing literature and tell us how it's going to contribute to the body of knowledge. Even if it is going to further what has already been there, so be it, but it must somehow relate to the existing body of knowledge. In the same way, what you are going to do, you must be able to reference it. Maybe you are going to work in a refugee settlement in Bidi or in Vepi or Rhino camp or Isingro, wherever it is, you must show how your work is going to be complementary or is going to take forward the existing interventions, whether it is cash programming, or it is gender mainstreaming, or it is financial literacy training, or whatever it is. Show how it relates to existing work that's going on, and show how complementary it is going to be to the existing work by government and other. If you leave it hanging, most likely it will be, presumed that you have not understood well the kind of intervention you are going into. You may not even know other stakeholders are working there, and yet a lot of network will be required. So, however, sometimes you may find difficulties in writing the exact problem we intend to address in the proposed project. It happens this way because what we are mentioning as a problem in the proposal is not a problem at all, or it itself not the problem, but is an effect of another problem. This is very important. Sometimes you may say, I think this is a problem. If we put this one, the donor will immediately give us funds. No. And sometimes you may think you're mentioning a problem, yet it is just an effect of another problem. So you need to be able to identify the problem and then the effect. So which one are you dealing with? So for example, there is an internal peace in Uganda, for instance, and we wish to put up a proposal on it. We cannot mention this as a problem while the problem is somewhere else. In this case, it could be some push factors such as land conflict, flooding, landslides, or any other disaster in the area that is leading to high IDPs. So the problem here is a push factor: flooding, landslides, land conflict, and not IDPs. Okay, so you should be able to identify the effect from the problem. If you have IDPs, people who have moved from eastern part of Uganda because of the landslide from the mountain, from Bale, Blambuli, or Bududa. So are you dealing with displacement, or are you dealing displacement as an effect, or are you dealing with the problem, which is landslide or land conflict that could have led people to leave a certain place, to be internally displaced? Because this is where the problem starts. If you have really identified a problem that you need to address in the form of a project. So it's also necessary to mention the cause of the problem because it's an integral part of the project implementation. In this scenario, the cause of the problem for the IDPs can be the push factor, the flooding, the landslides, the land conflict. Because once you are clear at this stage, it is now going to be easier for you to deal with the issue better. You are going to distill the problem better, to explain it, to link it, and to make it to make the interlinkage very well and convincing to the donor or to the committee that is reviewing your proposal. So looking at the effect, the problem, and the cause issue. Excuse me. The relationship between the three, the effect, the problem, and the cause must be outlined in the problem statement of the proposal. A good exercise to go step by fix. So the why. The project evolves out of an identified problem. Is a problem that comes before a project. The secret of solving a problem is proper identification of the problem. This is a very critical step. And I would really encourage you to have time to read those bullet points. So the why issue. Check back how well it matches with the donor guidelines or issues. Although you may have a very serious issue that you want to deal with, Unfortunately, if it doesn't align well with the donor guidelines and issues, it may not be considered. Check and ensure that it matches with the donor guidelines and donor preferences. It's not, I mean, it's something that you may find a bit disturbing, but it's also the reality that the donors have an interest, certain areas of focus, and you cannot turn it away into another direction and you expect them to give them funding to run in another direction different from where they are focusing. So give thorough background information about the region, the community and resources available. Explain the organizational strength and capacity in countering this problem and achieving the long-term results. It is also necessary to mention the cause of the problem because it's an integral part of the project implementation. And in this scenario, the cause of the problem, as I said previously, then the second aspect is a project goal. The project goal is a very general, high-level, long-term objective of the project. It is different from the project objectives because the latter are very specific and must be addressed alone by the project. The project objectives is very specific, but the goal is very broad. So a goal cannot be achieved by the project on its own, since there will be other forces like the government and other agencies as well working on it. So even if you submit a proposal, don't say the goal of your project is going to be met within that project. You are also just contributing to that goal. The goal is so broad that this particular project will not be able to answer that goal. It is going to contribute to it. What you are striving to achieve are simply the objectives, which are more specific. There are other players, other stakeholders who are also dealing with. If you are dealing with the refugee crisis, every INGO, for instance, and the humanitarian setting is contributing to that. You are trying to deal with the issue of resettlement refugees. You are trying to deal with the issue of livelihoods of refugees. You are also trying to focus on the issue of the cash programming. If you look at the cash programming alone, for instance, in Uganda, the cash programming working group, which is coordinated by World Food Program. So many agencies are there. Dan Church Aid is there. You'll find AVC is there. Oxfam is there. You'll find Norwegian Refugee Council is there. Dan Refugee Council, Dan Church Aid. You'll find many other agencies. World Vision is there. UNHCR is there. So you are only contributing to that. So there are so many agencies that have joined hands to address the overall goal. When you're talking about the issue of livelihoods, the issue of programming around the interventions, how do we empower the refugees economically? We need to give them cash to start up something. You are only contributing to the overall goal. You are not the only, and even if as an organization, you are not the only organization, but more so as a project. You cannot be the only project that's going to bring about the realization of the goal. So it's a major benchmark to compare work between different projects. Usually there is one project goal only, and it can be reflected in the title of the project. It should ideally support the overall policy of the government or the donor agency. This is very critical. Many donors want to know about the sustainability. They want to know that government is involved. The government is involved by policy and action, and other agencies are also involved by their action. Therefore, in that way, your project is only going to contribute. They know that what the funding that you may receive, perhaps $1 million. What will $1 million in 1 year change in a refugee situation? They want to be sure that government is involved in it and other agencies are also involved. Don't say you are the only one and therefore the project is going to sort out the issue. You want to be believed. For example, providing housing facilities to the landslide affected victims. This cannot be a project goal, but it can be a general objective. Okay, so focusing on this is an objective because you can deal with this. The goal is broader. So reducing the impact of natural disasters over communities belonging to the hilly region. This can be the project goal because it's broader as you are contributing to the problem in addition to other efforts. So if I may repeat this because I think it is important, if there is a problem of natural disasters in Bududa about the landslide, that is a goal, reducing the impact of natural disaster over communities who are living in Bududa. That is a goal. There are many partners, there are many stakeholders who are working on that. Government is working on that through the Office of the Prime Minister, disaster preparedness, and so on. There are so many humanitarian agencies who are working on that. So you are looking at providing housing facilities is a project objective because it's so specific that it's only going to focus on housing for those who may be affected. So a goal is very generic, very general, high level and long-term. Project goal, project cannot achieve the entire goal on its own. I already said that. Then the project objective, as you all know, the project objective must be SMART, meaning specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Project objectives are the specific objectives for which the project works to achieve them within a stipulated time. They should directly address the problem mentioned in the project problem statement. They should be specific. The more specific it is, the better to design activities, indicators, and the logical framework analysis. Specific objectives also helps address the problem stated and convince the donor easily. A good objective can be to increase the income level of women refugees from 5% to 20% in the settlement. I have been working for ABSI, managing a refugee program, and we are focusing on the refugees in the urban setting and having livelihood programs for them. Now, that is such a specific undertaking, which is manageable within a short time, and we are focusing on women refugees in terms of increasing that level of income from that percentage, for which, of course, this now helps you to work on the logical framework. You'll undertake a baseline and so on. So it is easier to deal, to be very specific. When you say from 5% to 20%, meaning your baseline is, at the moment, their kind of income generating activities is at 5%. So then you will be able to measure this incrementally and see how far you have gone. So the more specific you are, the easier it is for you to highlight the activities and put the indicators as required. So some relevant words be used while writing objectives. You are dealing with decreasing, increasing, strengthening, improving, enhancing. Yeah, because you are not going to eradicate at the level of decrease, because once you take the baseline, you will be able to measure the decrease, maybe from this percentage to this percentage, this percentage, this percentage. In the program I just mentioned, we had a census of refugees who are living in Arua city, and we undertook a census with the UBOS, Uganda Bureau of Statistics, to know how many refugees live there, to do a vulnerability profiling in a household level. Do they have the basic facilities in terms of housing, in terms of appliances? Do they have electricity? Do they have running water? How many meals do they have a day? Do they have the essential things? So that helped us to profile the different refugees in terms of vulnerability. So now when we say we want to increase their level of awareness in terms of the basic needs, or we want to decrease their vulnerability levels so that maybe at the end of the project, they could be having these basic things at household level. It is easier to measure. So we are simply contributing, decreasing, increasing, strengthening, because these are the kind of appropriate words that you can use in the objectives. And the inappropriate ones, when you just become broad and and say we are going to train, to provide, to produce, to establish, to create. This is so generic that it becomes very difficult to nail down and to determine the success, because how are you going to measure the training? How are you going to measure some of the interventions if these interventions are not indicated in specific terms? Then the strategies. Then strategies and objectives. So proposals are required to outline how the objectives of the project would be achieved. Here, it will be necessary to mention the strategies and activities to be implemented in the project. There's a lot of difference between strategies and activities. Strategies are broad concepts under which activities are placed. Strategies in a project can include capacity building, awareness raising, organizational development, exchange and learning visits, research and development, and so on. These are just strategies. You are going to undertake advocacy, you are going to do this. These are just strategies. How you think some of these will give you strategic guidance, will give you a picture. When we do some capacity building will be done, but they are different from activities. These are not the specific activities. And what are the objective activities here? The activities are now, you'll have to talk about training workshops, street shows, rallies, staff selection, training, baseline, midline, endline, participatory rural appraisal, focus group discussion, conferences, meeting. These are activities. So to develop activity, you refer to the lessons from the previous projects. Identify best practices from other agencies or projects or sources. Activities as identified by the communities. Because when you interact with the communities, they will tell you exactly what they want you to do. And those are the things that you can capture very well, and therefore your proposed writing will flow. But if it is you who is trying to think for the people, you will find yourself trying to scratch your head and say, now, what will I do? What should I say that I'm going to do? So strategies and activities. Strategies simply give you general guideline. We are going to do capacity building. Now, capacity building, you must now be very specific. What kind of capacity building are you going to do? You are going to do training. Because with the training, you can say, okay, we are going to carry out 2 trainings every quarter. Or we are going to train this number of people. We are going to train the number of, we are going to recruit staff. We are going to train staff in certain methodologies and so on. I'm trying to rush because I know time is not on our side. Then performance indicators and assumptions. A performance indicator is a measure of the result. It gives a sense of what has been or was to be achieved. For example, the number of refugee women participating in training programs. There are 2 types of indicators, the process indicators and results. And the process indicators define the indicators for a process or an activity. For example, number of women participating in financial literacy training. That's just a process. The number of women who participated. But the result will now indicate the result achieved from implementing that activity. The number of women aware of financial services. You give them training in financial literacy. But how many are now able to indicate this level of awareness? How many are able to demonstrate that knowledge that you have given them? Training is one thing. You may train 10 people, and at the end of the training, nobody remembers the terminologies or the concepts that they were taken through. If it is a financial literacy training, now they are aware of financial services. They are even able to know where they can go to seek financial, to get financial support. They are able to know where to get loan if they need. They're able to know whether they even need a loan. or whether they can start a business and what kind of business they can start and so on. Well, if they're able to apply the knowledge, then you know that those are now able to be measured at the result level, the outcome of that training. Risks and assumptions. Risks and assumptions are part of the concept based on the principle that we have less and less control of the project results as they go down and down implementing the project. We had a professor who said to us that the only thing you are certain about concerning the future is that you are completely uncertain of the future. Once you start implementing a project, you are not able to know how things will turn out. But it's because you are not aware of how things will turn out, that's why you have to put assumptions. Many projects now, the donors came to understand, were affected due to the closure, due to the lockdowns. And that's an acceptable excuse that COVID set in at the time that the project started. We were under lockdown, so many activities were postponed or were canceled, were modified and so on. You have to now know that the future is always in the unknown. So you have to say, well, there's the likelihood that something will hinder the implementation of the project so that the donor has an idea. So once you have already put it in the assumption, when something happens, the donor is aware and say, this was already anticipated that it would happen. It is now easier to make reference to it, that a reference is made to our assumption that this would happen and bad enough it has happened. So for example, government policies officials are supportive of the project activities or ongoing peace and stability may be hampered by political demonstrations and bomb blasts. In Uganda, for those who are not in Uganda, we have been experiencing some bomb blasts. We have so far had at least 3 scenarios. One was in an evening eating place where a waitress was hit by a bomb explosion. Another one was in a moving bus. Then another one was just yesterday where 2 children accidentally held a bomb and they didn't know it was a bomb. They thought it was a pawpaw or something and exploded and killed them. So, but we're saying there are things like this and we do not know how many of such blasts could happen. We have had political demonstrations. If you are implementing an activity during the time of elections, you know that there are going to be political demonstrations that could hamper your activities. And now we can keep making reference to the effect of COVID and other concerns. Project results. Results are changes that we expect to take place after implementing the project activities. And the results are generally positive experiences undergone by the beneficiaries, divided into 3 types. Once you implement a project, there are going to be 3 different results. 1 are the outputs, 2 the outcomes, and then the impact. I'm sure you are already aware of this, but for purpose of this presentation, since the theme of it is capacity building, I thought I would simply mention it also. Outputs are immediate results that we achieve soon after the completion of the project or any specific project activity. For example, if a training on human rights is carried out in a project, the output or the immediate result is a greater understanding of human rights among the participants. Just that you have a general understanding on human rights. You may not be deeper than that, but at least you know you have a general understanding of the concepts of human rights. But at the outcome level, the results may be that the participants are able to sensitize communities about human rights. So those you trained are now able also to apply. The first one is just receiving the knowledge, awareness, understanding of concepts. The second level is at the level of applying that knowledge. They're able to apply knowledge. For example, they're even able to go deeper and talk about, say, female genital mutilation as a human rights violation. The first one, they're able just to analyze, they understand the general concepts. Two, they're able to apply it and even to identify specific examples where such human rights concerns can be made reference. At impact level now, they are now even able, the project is now able to lead to policy changes. For example, the communities have engaged policymakers, government departments, parliaments, and so on to formulate policies to protect human rights of the people, e.g. against female genital mutilation. The first one, output, well, we have understood the concept. Second is that now we know that female genital mutilation is a problem, is a human rights violation. At the impact level, we are now even advocating for change of policies together with government and other policymakers. So, under that section, it should be able, of course, in the proposal to demonstrate so that the donor is able to see that I think this program, this project is worth considering. Because imagine at the end of it, if they will be able to even engage with the policymakers to change these policies, I think it is worthwhile. Just rather than just general awareness, they're even able to apply the knowledge, they're able to engage with the different stakeholders to change the policies. Monitoring and evaluation. Monitoring and evaluation enables constant check on the activities and helps review the progress made at every step. Monitoring should be the integral part of the project implementation. In fact, there should be an internal mechanism to monitor the results, risks, assumptions, performance regularly through meetings and submission of reports. Now, as a project is implemented, the monitoring framework must be there. How frequent it will be done and so on. So to keep the project in check, to make sure that any deviations can be addressed in time. Any risks can now be mitigated in time. Now, it is part of it and is really supposed to be the responsibility of all the stakeholders, especially those implementing the project and then the beneficiaries. The donor may also occasionally carry out monitoring and evaluation of the project, and so involving external entities such as donors, government people, consultants, and other stakeholders in monitoring would be a good opportunity to collect feedback, provide exposure to the work, and explore new options. Sometimes some donors would also want to be part of the monitoring to see what's going on, rather than to wait until the tail end when things may not have gone well. However, ideally, evaluation is carried out by external agents during the midterm or in the end of the project. But a structure by an implementing agency organization for internal reflection
I think it's the one.
Project is also important.
Take the photo and send to the owner.
No, I was saying monitoring is by the implementers, but evaluation is by external agencies. Now, but for
what happened
for
here?
The purpose of, you don't have to wait on external agency to come and do evaluation and get a fault or to find that there are glaring gaps with the implementation of the project. You can, as an organization, you can have your own internal reflection on the project and document it and see what has gone wrong. So that when an external agency or the donor or maybe a consultant is contracted to come and do a midterm evaluation or end-term evaluation, you are not shocked by the report. Then the budget. This is the very last one. As I wind up, the budget must be itemized as clearly as possible, presented in the required format, usually a budget format or templates attached by a respective donor. It should be in line with the activities set in the project. It will be an additional advantage to mention contribution from other sources, such as a community or other donors, or contribution made by the applicant should also be mentioned. The point here is that Many donors are now focusing on the applicant being able to show the matching fund. If the project is worth $1 million, what are you as an applicant going to contribute? And this contribution can be in kind. For example, in assets, you're providing land and so on. A program that I've been managing, the refugee program managed by Advocacy, together with the Rural City Council and UBOS, the matching fund was there of about $75,000 out of 375,000, 75,000 by the donor. And you have to indicate it. How are you contributing? Because they want to show, to see the level of commitment that you as an applicant are making. That can be in kind. For example, land in Arua was valued at $60,000. $25,000 was also a contribution by the lead applicant, so that the donor can bring in the other $300,000. Then there is seen as a what. Though you cannot say, for us now, we don't have anything, we are relying on you. Once you show that you don't have anything contributory to the total sum, in most cases, the donor will decline to approve. You may be put on hold until you're able to show that there is a level of contribution, monetary or otherwise. But indeed we have land, we have staff, we have sometimes maybe other in-kind contributions. We have what that we should show. You should not look helpless because it doesn't help you. The donor will just discount you as a serious applicant. So packaging your proposal. When the proposal writing is complete, it's important to ensure that the packaging has been done properly before submitting it. Key points to be kept in packaging the proposal. The title page should have project title, name of the donor agency, and the name of the donor agency, name, logo, and contact information of the NGO or the CBO. There should be a table of contents. There should be one page for explaining acronyms. There should be a project summary, not more than one page, narrating goal, objectives, results, and activities, and provide an overview of the organization. Ensure that that page numbering, header, footer are complete. While writing, use active sentences, not passive. This will be done, this will be that, we will do this, we will do this. This will be done by who now? So active sentences. Keep in mind the limit for the total number of pages for the proposal. Sometimes it's required only this number of words. Attach appendixes if necessary, if required, if asked. Give bibliography or references. If you have made quotations or you have done research, the proposal should be signed and sealed if necessary, but most of the proposals are sent online. Then lastly, a covering letter. A covering letter is essential. I've not given a sample there, but a covering letter should be able at least to say, thank you for giving us the opportunity to present our proposal. We are a CBO, such and such an organization, an NDO, and is seeking your support to ensure that the betterment of maybe refugees by providing them quality healthcare services and enriching their lives and opening up new opportunities for their future. For our project to be accessible, our organization requires assistance from various benefactors or funders for the fulfillment of the project. Enclosed is a copy of our proposal. It outlines how our organization, say Dan Church A, is going to work with you. And you mentioned the donor, maybe how Dan Church A is going to work with you, Danida, to align with our program, to make them socially, financially, economically, environmentally sustainable by using appropriate and innovative technologies. So our dream is to survive in a society which is free from all types of discrimination and exploitation, where one can realize their potential. We hope that we can have your support as our benefactor in this endeavor. We are glad to meet. With you for further discussion in accordance to your convenience. Looking forward to hearing from you. It is really an opportunity to show that you are humble enough, but to give a summary in terms of the covering letter and show that you want to seek an opportunity if they are available to have a further discussion. Because sometimes when you have laid out your proposal, the donor may have interest and say, can we have an opportunity to meet and discuss further and see if this idea can be better packaged, can be fine-tuned, or can be considered for a future funding opportunity, or can be refocused and so on. You leave it open to them and you say you already appreciate the fact that you have been able to go this far and submit a proposal. So, like I said in the beginning, this is not entirely new, and I really want to thank you for listening in patiently. I know it is not a new thing. You already have it. Yeah, but I just thought in the spirit of capacity building, I would just quickly share this with you. Thank you very much, and over to you, Fiesta and Anne.
Thank you. Wow, that was amazing. Very, very technical, and that is why I think a few of us are left, because this is a very technical topic.
I just want to say thank you to Xavier.
Oh, okay. So Fiesta, you're online.
I'm very, very happy with that
take over,
presentation.
please. Yeah.
Good.
Fiesta, take over, please. I didn't know you were online. Go on, please. Fiesta, kindly go on. Now that you're online, go on, please. Okay, do we have any questions? People have questions for Xavier? Moro, Daniel, yes, go ahead.
Thank you very much, moderator, once again for this such a golden opportunity. I have a very brief inquiry that I would love to make from the previous presenter, that is Francis. In fact, I need to first appreciate him for the elegant presentation. And my major concern is going what is the real format for coming up with actually leaving alone the issue of the project proposal? What is the main format of coming up with like if you have like I can say some sort of you have an idea, you want to bring it out, how can you really write it? I can say the format of writing. Our brother has been saying it. I don't know the better word I can use, but it's sort of like an idea. And then what is the difference between the funding proposal and then the business proposal? I think those are the only two inquiries that I'd love to make.
Francis, over to you. I think he wants to find out differences between the concepts, just to detail.
Now, thanks, Daniel. You're asking about how you can turn your idea into a proposal. You need to explore. I gave you something about the cause, the effect, problem, and cause. That's where you will get to know what the problem really that you want to deal with is. Because sometimes if you have not understood what the problem is, you will not be able to compose a proposal. You are dealing with the effect rather than the problem. So you have to do an analysis, the effect, problem, and cause. I gave an example of when you're dealing with IDPs. Are you dealing with IDPs or like say refugee influx in Uganda? Or you're going to deal with the cause of that? So what are you going to present to the donor as the issue you are going to deal with? You need to do that analysis. Secondly, how you present that will depend on the format that has been provided by the donor. because the donors normally have a proposal format. You simply fill out the different questions that they ask. They tell us about your organization. What does the organization deal with? What problem do you want to deal with? And so on. They will basically be asking you those questions. But once you have done your analysis, you have done your background work, you have engaged the community, understood their concerns, how you're going to involve them, those questions simply fill out. It will be very easy for you. Who you're going to work with, what you're going to do with them, what kind of support do you need, why do you think that would work, and just providing justification, but normally there's a format for you to fill out. On the issue of business proposals and then these funding proposals, today we are focusing on writing proposals for CBOs or NGOs, not business proposal. Of course, there are some variations, there are some differences, but of course they vary a lot in terms of the structure, what kind of business you're focusing on, the justification of the business, and all this. But the NGO sector that we are focusing on, this is a format. So if you want, we can have another discussion altogether that is aligned to business proposal development. This was specifically for CSOs, CBOs, and NGOs. I hope I've answered you, Daniel.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, there are other proposals also for business. They will usually involve a lot about what you want to do, of course, the product you want to sell or market, how you're going to market, who your competitors are. It has a summary. In most cases, if the funder is going to fund you for business, they'll also give you a template. Initially, if you're just starting out, it's very important you get support from technical people. I know to get someone to write for you a proposal it's actually in Uganda, I know it costs an arm and a leg, but you know, you can always consult those who have done it before and get their input as much as possible. And then the future ones, you subsequently, as you improve your skills, you can now do it yourself. A thorough activist or lobbyist or development worker, you need to collaborate, you need to identify people who align with your mission, vision, be part of as many networking events as possible, have an open mind. That's one thing I learned from Ruth. Have an open mind and you know, don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. Be open to new ideas and go online, search for opportunities and submit as many proposals as possible. You get 100 rejections, you may get one good one that gives you the breakthrough. As we close, we would like to invite Mr. Okech Richard. He is a board chair for Light Empowerment Foundation. We would like him to he has graced us with his presence throughout the webinar. We'll give him a few minutes to wrap it up, just say the closing remarks, and that will be done for today. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for all the partners who have really supported us in this initiative. Over to you, Mr. Richard Okech.
Thank you for inviting me to make these closing remarks. I want to give a very big round of applause and invite everybody else that we do the same to the organizers and our wonderful presenters. This has been an extremely informative, powerful, and inspiring webinar. I am the chair of Light Foundation, Uganda. I'm a teacher by profession. My area of activism is in education, as well as grassroots work, empowering all the communities holistically from religion, education, and all the other areas. I wish on behalf of Light Foundation to express in a special way appreciation to the organizers, with Anne being the lead person, as well as other directors of Light Foundation and our partners who are working with us. But today in a special way, and I think this appreciation really it goes from the bottom of my heart to thank our facilitators, and Kazungu being who was the first in the line, and HR consultant for giving us the A to Z in building sustainable structures for young organization. And thank you very much. I also want to thank Job Lazarus Okello, a young but very very challenging and inspiring young man who spoke really, and I felt also moved that even me at his age, when I was at his age, I was not as charismatic as he was, as passionate as he was. So thank you, Lazarus, for inspiring us in that area of leadership quality. Also, Ruth Atim, the young ICT lady, we thank you for being very courageous in taking in that field that has been dominated by men, of course, by the male gender, but for being a trailblazer. Thank you for inspiring us all on this platform and encouraging us to also encourage us at family level to challenge our sisters, our daughters to enter into this field, because that's where the world is now. We also appreciate Mustafa Gerima, an environmental activist and expert. He says he was a teacher. He is a teacher, but decided to join full-time into activism, especially in his area of Shia Nut, being an ambassador, and we were very impressed by his courage in that area. That is a very key thing for all of us to preserve our resources, our natural resources, our content, cultural content, and everything. Also, Ruth Atim, with I think I've mentioned her, and finally Francis Xavier Ochieng for that great technical presentation in such a short time. But this is something that he normally would have taken 3 hours or so in a conference or in an institution to present. I want to thank and say finally that this is going towards encouraging and challenging all of you who are in this NGO world or in this private sector, doing in your own small way, but when we all join together, the different voices, the different platforms, and create a worldwide, a very strong network, this is what changes the world. Governments are there with big machineries, structures, resources. We have big multinational companies. They are also there, quite big in terms of their spread, how they are spread. But ultimately, it is we in the NGO sector who are at the grassroots. So we should not be discouraged by how difficult it is to start and grow and be established and make a difference in however small way it is. So kudos and big congrats to all of us there who are trying to make a difference, whether in terms of education, in terms of empowering the disadvantaged, the women who have no resources, those who lack skills, and so on and so forth. Those who have been victims of abuse, thank you all so much. So finally, we are closing, and I want to give the Almighty's blessings, pray that each and every one will be blessed to continue and to grow stronger and stronger, not to be discouraged, but to continue. And we let us network even after this webinar, as we look forward to more engagements, more partnerships, and more networking to make our world a better place. I thank you all.